Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We're celebrating a golden summer with your chance to win a real gold bar. That's right, a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 could be yours. We're also going to make sure your finances are fabulous with £60,000 in tax-free cash. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 12 o'clock on Thursday, the 23rd of July. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Emily Carver.
I've reprioritised. The public's priority is reducing cost of living pressures.
Well, Andy Burnham announces a 20% business rates cut for pubs, clubs and live music venues, but one of his own ministers admits the funding details are yet to be worked out. Is it another promise without a plan?
And should we tax the wealthy more? Well, Gary Lineker is one of among 120 millionaires urging the government to hit the rich with higher taxes. But he hasn't always felt that way.
No, he has not. In other news, a jihadist who plotted an attack on a military site with the Manchester synagogue killer has been jailed for life. But the police had seized the terrorist's phones months earlier and failed to examine them. Was that a deadly attack missed?
A white man charged with assaulting a police officer after being attacked by 2 black men has had his case dropped while his attackers avoided court. Is this another example of two-tier policing?
I felt I was doing something against that so-and-so Hitler who was destroying our country.
Well, that was the late RAF veteran George Johnson, who led the 617 Squadron raid in World War II, as today Lincolnshire celebrates 90 years of the Bomber Command.
Well, more than 55,500 young men died serving in Bomber Command during World War II. Here at the International Bomber Command Centre near Lincoln, we're celebrating in a special 90th commemorations their service and also remembering their ultimate sacrifice.
Glasgow Games go live. Yes, King Charles, Queen Camilla and the Prime Minister are headed to Scotland for the Commonwealth Games opening ceremony. Did you know it was happening? Do you care?
Oh, harsh.
The magic of Glasgow 2014 is going to be hard to reproduce, but nevertheless Scotland's biggest city is going to attempt it. 11 days of games, just 10 sports, and tonight's opening ceremony going to be setting the tone for what is being dubbed the most scaled back Commonwealth Games in history.
And amidst it all, it's not only the big stories out there in the country, there's a story here in the studio.
Who is there now, Tom?
A little birdie, in fact you told me. It's your birthday today.
It is my birthday. It is my birthday. So thank you.
Yeah, oh no, hang on.
Have you got anything for me?
Wait. Here we go. No expense spared.
As the smallest cake. No, it's charming. It's charming.
I think a bigger cake would have been rude, actually. And so I picked.
Well, it would have suggested I'm greedy, would it?
I picked a dainty little cake.
It's a dainty cake, like me. Yeah.
I think it's. And I've got a couple of plates as well.
Thank you very much.
There you go. So as we're actually, it's definitely for you to cut into.
It is, yes. This reminds me of the gender reveal we did when I was just about to go off on maternity leave. If you remember, and it had blue inside. But anyway, this is a delicious chocolate cake. Thank you very much. I share a birthday with the late Amy Winehouse, and I do always think about Amy Winehouse on my birthday, which is kind of sad because she was one of my favourite music artists.
Do you know who I share my birthday with?
No.
Mother Teresa.
Right, OK. Well, you have some...
Macaulay Culkin. Michael Gove.
And Michael Gove. Well, there you go. I'd say out of those three, you're most similar to Michael Gove.
Mother Teresa. Oh, OK. Well, I'll let others decide.
Well, yes, happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to anyone else who shares this birthday. But yes, I'll be going out, having a nice dinner, I think.
Oh, lovely, lovely. Well, do get your birthday wishes to Emily in gbnews.com/yoursay. Yeah, or of course the other stories that we're doing. There is some other news on today as well, but mainly.
Yes, we'd both quite like to see Gary Lineker with a massive cheque. You know, one of those party-style
turning
checks.
up to HMRC, which is saying he's going to give half his money or something like that.
Well, yes, because he refused to give more money to HMRC. In fact, he went into battle against HMRC for years, I think it was, over a tax bill. He said he didn't want to spend any more on tax, but now he does. So times change.
Don't they just? Well, all of that and so much more to come after your latest news headlines with Tatiana.
Thank you and good afternoon. The top stories this hour. A friend of the Manchester synagogue attacker has been jailed for life with a minimum of 17 years after the pair planned a separate attack on a military base. 31-year-old Mohammed Bashir drove Jihad al-Shami on a 10-hour round trip to conduct hostile reconnaissance at the UK's Defence Academy in Oxfordshire on the 14th of August last year. Weeks after that journey, al-Shami was shot dead by police after carrying out the Heaton Park synagogue attack, in which 2 Jewish men were killed. Bashir was sentenced at Manchester Crown Court after pleading guilty to 1 count of preparing an act of terrorism. Prime Minister Andy Burnham has announced he will cut business rates by 20% for pubs, clubs and live music venues from April next year. The government says the move will save the typical pub £1,100 next year from their tax bill. It will benefit nearly 32,000 hospitality venues. Business rates relief on what ministers are calling anti-social businesses, such as vape shops, will also be reviewed. Kemi Badenoch had some harsh words for the Prime Minister.
Don't get me wrong. Cost of living pressures are real. But the problems go way beyond bus fares and VAT on bills. Families are struggling. Young people are worrying about whether they will ever earn enough to buy a home. Some are leaving the country in search of a better future. Businesses are closing. People are working harder but feeling poorer. I'm sorry, but going by what he's announced so far, Andy Burnham's ambitions for Britain are too small.
People smugglers have launched a so-called mega dinghy from the French coast, carrying a record 150 illegal migrants, GB News can reveal. The French lifeboat service has confirmed the migrant boat was launched in the Bay of Somme around 6:30 a.m. It's the second day running that criminal gangs have launched a larger migrant boat as they cram ever greater numbers on board and try to avoid police patrols further north along the French coast. Gary Lineker has joined more than 100 British-based millionaires in calling on Andy Burnham to tax their wealth more, telling the new Prime Minister we can afford it. Mr Burnham has previously signalled his intention to overhaul the tax system in order to fund his policy ambitions as Prime Minister. Mr Burnham has previously declined to rule out wealth tax, telling ex-footballer Lineker earlier this month that his government may ask for a little more. Elsewhere, a teenage girl and a woman in her 40s have died after getting into difficulty in the sea at an Essex beach. A third person's in hospital in a serious condition, Essex Police says. Officers believe the three people knew each other. Another two people are also in hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Earlier, the Coast Guard said it was called to a tragic incident on Wednesday around 5:30 p.m. Andy Burnham will meet with the First Minister John Swinney during his visit to Scotland for the Commonwealth Games. It's the first in-person meeting between the Scottish and UK leaders since Mr Burnham became Prime Minister on Monday. The Labour leader signalled he did not want to discuss the prospect of another independence referendum with the SNP leader. Mr Burnham arrives in Glasgow today to watch the opening ceremony for the 2026 Commonwealth Games, where he'll also be joined by the King and Queen. He'll also meet the First Minister of Wales. And Britain's biggest water company has announced a hosepipe ban for over 10 million customers as large parts of the country move closer to drought status following several heat waves. Thames Water said the restriction has now come into effect. The ban applies to all customers that it supplies with drinking water across London, the Thames Valley and the home counties. It means hosepipes shouldn't be used for watering gardens, cleaning cars or windows, or filling paddling pools, hot tubs or swimming pools. Officials say 23 million people across England are now under or facing restrictions. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Here's a look at the finance.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Well, good afternoon, Britain. It's 9 minutes past midday and some breaking news to bring you now.
Yes, another mega dinghy is currently crossing the channel towards the UK. People smugglers have launched a mega dinghy from the French coast, carrying what GB News understands is a record 150 illegal migrants.
Well, the size of this mega dinghy is understood to be as long as a bowling lane. It marks the second day of small boat crossings under Andy Burnham's premiership now.
The length of a bowling lane, is that about 20 metres, 30 metres?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I'm going to
look it up because we need to know.
I went to a bowling alley a couple of months ago.
Oh, yeah.
First time in ages.
But you didn't get out your ruler?
I didn't. No, I think there was quite a lot of alcohol involved. But it was a very, very long.
18.29 metres, so that's quite a long vessel.
Wow.
Which is why it's called a mega dinghy. So, yes, the boats are very much back. Burnham's boat.
You know, I'm now certified to pilot a boat, but only up to 10 metres, so I wouldn't be allowed to...
You wouldn't be allowed?
I wouldn't be allowed to be the helmsman for this particular boat. But, 150 people is an astonishing number.
Yeah, it's huge. They used to be more sort of 60, 70, weren't they?
I wonder if this is linked to the story that Mark White brought us yesterday, where the government has really cracked down on finding where these boats are, destroying these boats. So instead of lots and lots of boats, with a smaller number of people, these are now bigger boats holding more people, because only a few of them get through the supply chain. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe they're trying different tactics. They might be after this. Yeah, the authorities might be after a certain type of boat, and then these whoppers come along.
Well,
and
there's
they
the same number
slip
of people
through.
who want to come across, but fewer boats to get them across because there's been this action to crack down on the supply chain, which actually makes it a bit more dangerous to cross. More people cramming into bigger boats.
But Andy Burnham will be asked about this, I'm sure, when he speaks to the media. This is Andy's armada now. As soon as you're Prime Minister, it's your problem. It's on your desk. They're your boats.
Well, speaking of other problems for Andy Burnham, it's day 4 for Andy Burnham and the feel-good policies just keep coming. But how much are we actually going to pay? Or indeed save? And crucially, how much is Andy going to pay?
How is Andy going to pay? How is Andy?
Well, Tom, Andy Burnham says he's going to give pubs, clubs, live music venues 20% off their business rates. That's going to save the average pub £1,100 a year, I hear.
Well, it sounds nice. Labour says it will be funded by making businesses like vape shops pay more tax and tightening tax compliance. But we don't have more detail than that. There are fears that this package could include a warehouse tax, which experts say would raise inflation and increase supply costs for businesses like, you guessed it, pubs.
Well, OK, but what about the temporary cut to VAT on household energy bills? That's surely going to save me £46 over the year.
Well, that doesn't take into account the increase that the energy price cap is expected to have from October. Experts are saying that could be up to £84 higher. And the government says that it will be funded by scrapping the planned digital ID scheme. But the sacked Minister Darren Jones has revealed that the digital ID scheme itself was unfunded, so no money's been identified for that.
OK, Tom, but the £2 cap on business fares across the whole of England, if you're currently making £2, £3 journeys a day, say, you'll save up to £500 a year. Not so good if you rarely take the bus anywhere, though, I suppose.
Well, it's also going to require over £500 million of taxpayers' funding. At the moment, they're saying it'll be paid by shifting international climate finance from grants to loans. Now, that's an accounting trick, allowing the government to borrow more money while technically staying within those new fiscal rules, all thanks to something called snuffle, which I can go into more detail in, but I'm not sure we have enough time right now.
Maybe later. So, more borrowing is on the cards.
It's funded by more borrowing, yeah.
How is Andy going to pay? How is Andy going to pay?
Well, I hope that was educational.
I think it was educational. So we've had some of these feel-good cost-saving policies for people, but we don't really have a strong idea of how they're going to be paid for. And it may well be that taxes go up elsewhere.
Well, it's just with each of these 3 policies, 3 days, 3 policies, there's been, this is how we're going to pay for it, but you scratch beneath the surface of that and then you realise, oh, it's either not funded or it's funded by an accounting trick that means more borrowing, or there's a big question mark over where this money is actually going to come from and what other businesses are going to be taxed to fund the pubs and clubs and music venues relaxation.
How is Andy going to pay? Yeah, it's catchy. Anyway, the leader of the Conservatives, Kemi Badenoch, has hit back at Burnham's spending spree, insisting more tax rises are on the horizon and the Prime Minister's ambitions are just too small.
Well, we're joined by our political editor, Christopher Hope, now. Christopher, what do you make of this sort of rolling band of announcements? And frankly, it seems like it is under for some criticism.
Yeah, morning, Tom. Morning, Emily. To a glorious sunny day here in London by the Thames. And that's right. I mean, what is happening here? This government is announcing well over £1.5 billion worth of spending pledges, and how that's funded isn't entirely clear. And that comes not from the Tories, but from Darren Jones, the former Chief Secretary to Sir Keir Starmer when he was Prime Minister. That was just on the issue of the funding it from money would have been spent on the digital ID cards. Well, that money wasn't found, but it'll be spent elsewhere now. That's the problem, I think. The new Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, has got. He was going to fund this 20% cut on business rates for pubs. That's obviously good news for pubs, but taking it away from other retail outlets like vaping shops. And how do you judge what is one to be taxed more and why should that go to pubs? Now, we've heard from Kemi Badenoch this morning. She says she's a simple answer: axe business rates from all of these retail shops and support them that way. That's one idea. But there's much more of a wider range speech from Kemi Badenoch. She talked about how Now, so far, we're day 2 or day 3 of this Burnham government. He's offered what she says are small answers to big questions. He talked about AI, about defence, about migration. Where are the big answers to those questions? Of course, we're expecting a 10-year plan to be set out by Andy Burnham this autumn. Some would say that may trigger some form of a general election campaign. And that's a question I wanted to put to Kemi Badenoch. Simply this: is she ready for an election? Here's what she told us.
Chris, I'm always ready for an election. I'm the leader of the opposition. We always want an election because we believe, I believe, Conservatives believe, that we have got a plan. We're the only ones talking any common sense. We're the only ones who've actually explained how we will make energy cheaper. No one else is doing that. Being ready for an election is just one part of it. You've got to be ready for government as well, not just ready to deliver leaflets. And we have a plan for both. We have a plan for an election. If Andy Burnham wants to call a snap election, we're ready. We have a plan for government. But I have said that if he's breaking away from Labour's manifesto and not funding defence, then he should call an election. John Healey resigned from government because he said Labour wasn't protecting the country. If that doesn't change, I would be expecting John Healey to resign again. He is the Chancellor now, so he should find the money. Otherwise, there should be an immediate general election.
Okay, so Kemi Badenoch there saying she wants an election if the money can't be found for the defence investment plan. So it's a conditional demand for an election, unlike what we hear from other leaders, maybe like Nigel Farage, Reform UK leader, who spoke to us last night on GB News Tonight. And that could well be because, of course, her party is at 21% roughly in the polls, down from 26% when she became leader. So why isn't the country listening to her? And why is she freezing out some Tories from the past in her future team? Grant Shapps, he's built a business worth well over $2 billion since the last election, and Kemi Badenoch talked about lack of business support in her cabinet, and yet he has been banned from standing as a candidate at the next election. So these are questions I put for Kemi Badenoch, and that interview will air on your show after 1 p.m. today.
Fantastic stuff. Thank you very much indeed, Christopher Hope there in central London. Right, well, back to this tax cut for pubs. Yes, 20% of their business rates chopped away, but is it enough to save the average pub?
Well, Steve Perez is owner of the Red Lion pub in Stone Edge, and he joins us now. Steve, thanks indeed for joining us. Is this going to be a welcome relief, or frankly, does it not make up for some of the extra taxes that have been hoisted on pubs over the last 2 years?
Well, it's a welcome relief. We've been, taxed through increased national insurance, the tax nobody's even heard of, EPR, extended producer's responsibility, which is for every bottle you buy, every can. There's about 7 pence per bottle or can. The hospitality has actually been hammered by this government. I see this as a chink of light. I just hope that Andy Burnham doesn't go back on what he talked about prior to being Prime Minister, which when he said he would support a cut in VAT. Now, that's what we're looking for. That would make a difference. Ireland have just cut VAT to 9%. Most of Europe are 10%. £1,000 per year per average pub won't make any difference whatsoever. And I'd also just say that, it doesn't include restaurants and hotels. And my hotel has just had a 130% rate increase.
Wow. That's huge. Yes, I'm not sure why he's left out restaurants and hotels and other sort of hospitality businesses. I guess it's because pubs have been under the cosh in particular, maybe, or that they're just something that most Brits can get behind very passionately. But, Steve, have you run the figures yet? Because they're saying the average pub will save about £1,100 because of this change in business rates. Do you know how much your pub will save?
Well, we haven't seen the detail. The devil's always in the detail. I mean, because my pub, like most pubs these days, aren't just pubs, they're also restaurants. And lots of pubs have got rooms. So does that make them as a restaurant or a hotel? And that's a difficulty. You've got to class all hospitality together these days. It's not just for the traditional wet-led pub.
Oh, so your pub is also a hotel. It has rooms, so it's an inn as well, and it also has a restaurant. So that could make the taxes even more complex for you.
Yeah, we'll probably get nothing.
Oh, great.
And also they're looking at taxing nice pubs even more. So if we spend money on our pub and make it really nice, as we have done, the rates increase. I think most people are quite happy to pay tax. We're all prepared to pay corporation tax, but the whole rate system means that we have to pay rates even before we open the doors.
And as you say, if you improve your pub, if the value of your pub goes up, then it's then the valuation of the way that the rates work is the higher the value, the higher you pay. So you're almost incentivised to not improve your pub.
Well, exactly. For example, Amazon don't get charged more just because he put some more robots into their warehouses. We've just been, this hospitality has just been singled out by this Labour government. But I am hopeful. It's a chink of light. I am hopeful that Andy Burnham, prior to being Prime Minister, was very supportive of hospitality. And let's just hope he sticks to his word.
Well, hopefully he's listening. Perhaps this is a sign he is. Steve Perez, owner of the Red Lion pub in Stone Edge. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Good luck to you.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Coming up,
a jihadist who plotted an attack on a military site with the Manchester synagogue killer has been jailed for life, but the police had seized the terrorist's phones months earlier and failed to examine them. Was a deadly attack missed?
But after the break, should we tax the wealthy more? Well, Gary Lineker is among 120 millionaires urging the government to hit the rich with higher taxes. All of that and much more to come with GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the
unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories.
And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
and meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 26 minutes past midday. Now, Gary Lineker has urged Andy Burnham to impose a wealth tax on him and other millionaires.
Yes, the former presenter is now podcaster, is among 120 UK-based millionaires calling on Burnham to impose higher taxes on their wealth.
Well, the letter organised by the organisation called Patriotic Millionaires says, "We want you to tax us. We can afford it."
Such a humble brag, isn't it? We're joined by campaigns and movement manager at Tax Justice, Jake Atkinson. This is very interesting coming from Gary Lineker, because Gary Lineker had a very high-profile battle with HMRC. He didn't want to pay more tax, but now suddenly he does.
I think it's fantastic that Gary Lineker and other multimillionaires are actually handing Andy Burnham an open goal to show who this government is really for. And by making the tax system fairer, what Burnham can do is show that people, ordinary people, working people across this country, that the government is on their side. People are crying out for change. They want to see an end to the cost of living crisis. They want to see our public services rebuilt. And a wealth tax on the very, very richest, people with 10 million or more, could raise £24 billion a year, and that could help kickstart a mass council house building programme. It could expand childcare and really help
What about the
address
next year, though, Jake?
crisis.
What about the next year?
Sorry?
What about the next year, the year after that?
Yeah, absolutely. We do need an annual wealth tax. We are looking at just 20,000
But would you
people
not be
that sort of
taxing less and less
come
wealth?
through.
That's the point I'm making.
Actually, the very wealthiest expect to see a return on their wealth and their wealth increase by about 5 to 10% a year. So actually 2% wouldn't really put a lot of dent in the growth in their wealth. They would just get rich slightly slower. And in return,
You've just revealed
really,
in that analysis, you've just revealed exactly the duplicity of this plan. Because you say that, a very wealthy person's wealth is growing by 5% a year, and you want to tax 2% of their wealth. A 2% tax would sound very reasonable. I think most people would think, oh, it's a 2% tax. But it's not. It's 2 out of 5. If their wealth is growing by 5% and you're taking 2/5 of that, you're actually imposing an extra 40% tax on their income, much of which will already be taxed in other ways as well. And when you look at it like that, say they've got a 5% increase each year, you're taking 40% of their extra wealth. What person with more than £10 million would want to be subject to that 40% extra tax each and every year when we are talking about literally the most mobile people on the face of the planet?
These multimillionaires who have signed this letter say that they're happy to pay and they're proud to pay. People in this country want to feel proud of this country. They want to look around their local community and see the GP centre open, being able to get an appointment. They want to see their children's schools have smaller class sizes so their children can get ahead in life. They want to see sports centres.
Jake, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true.
I'm saying that. And to your point about the people leaving, I'm worried about doctors leaving this country in droves. I'm worried about young people who want to get ahead in life and are looking around and seeing lack of opportunities in the UK and they're looking to go elsewhere.
Why do you think about 20 countries removed their wealth tax over the last 20, 25 years?
And many countries have kept their wealth taxes.
No, there are only 3. There are only 3.
What we're saying is this.
Should we look at the countries that have a wealth tax?
Targeted to the UK.
Do you think the Switzerland model, for example, is a good one?
This is a wealth tax that is very targeted.
Can we please be specific?
0.04% of the
Spain,
population.
Switzerland, Norway, right? Which one do you want to? Which model do you want to follow? Because the way that Switzerland, for example, doesn't have inheritance tax, right? So given that Switzerland has a quote-unquote wealth tax, their overall tax burden in Switzerland is far lower than the tax burden in Britain. In fact, Switzerland is considered a tax haven by many, many wealthy people. You just can't make that comparison.
What we are saying is this is a 2% net wealth tax on net assets over £10 million. It would be enforceable because it's applying to just the smallest number of the population, some 20,000 people, who raise £24 billion a year. That is the policy on the table. That is what people are looking at.
I think,
and that will raise £24 billion a year.
Yeah, I think you'd be disappointed that it might not raise actually what you suggest it might. Indeed, Gary Lineker's own actions against HMRC have kind of proven that it's easy to virtue signal, but actually people do change their behaviour once the tax bill heads their way. But Jake Atkinson, I appreciate your robust defence of a wealth tax. Campaigns and Movement Manager at Tax Justice, Jake Atkinson there.
It's interesting that we talk about how taxes have been levied in this country. I feel bad for him.
He didn't really get to finish his answers.
It's always difficult down the line because there's a slight delay. But it is interesting to note, actually, if you look at a distributional analysis of tax over the last 15 years, it has been the richest that have had their taxes raised by the most. And that's something that not many people know.
Most people don't care, though, right?
Yeah.
You know, no one's got their little tiny violin out for Mr.
But it's
Big
like
Bucks.
we have tried squeezing the rich. And I mean, the taxes on the rich are far higher today than they were 15, 20 years ago. And not many people know that fact, but also over the same time, we haven't had that much productivity growth.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, let us know your thoughts. Perhaps you agree with Jake there. We should just slap more taxes on the super wealthy. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show. Do stay tuned, but it's your latest news headlines.
Good afternoon. The top stories. Prime Minister Andy Burnham has announced he will cut business rates by 20% for pubs, clubs and live music venues from next April. The government says the move will save the typical pub £1,100 next year from their tax bill. Elsewhere, 31-year-old Mohammed Bashir has been jailed at Manchester Crown Court for life with a minimum term of 17 years. It's after he planned a separate terror attack with Manchester synagogue knife assailant Jihad al-Shami. A teenage girl and a woman in her 40s have died in an incident at West Mersey Beach last night, Essex Police has today confirmed. Another 3 people were taken to hospital, the ambulance service has confirmed. Those are the latest headlines, more at 1 o'clock.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello again, welcome along to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Yet again, most places not seeing a drop of rain today. Many areas having plenty of July sunshine, really quite warm across the south once more. High pressure is in control, but it is being pushed away. There are signs of things turning a bit wetter as we head towards the weekend. Even today, there will be 1 or 2 showers again over northwest Scotland, the odd light shower possible down the eastern side of England. It's not sunny everywhere. There are some areas of cloud tending to break up as we head into the afternoon and into the evening time, but still some areas keeping quite a bit of cloud through the day today. That'll keep the temperatures in the low 20s perhaps, but in the south with some sunshine, well, high 20s likely, 28, perhaps even 29 in 1 or 2 locations. A bit more of a breeze again coming into northwest Scotland, more coming in from the west or the southwest here, bringing in some showery rain at times to the Outer Hebrides and to Shetland. The odd light shower possible elsewhere across the west coast of Scotland, but generally most places dry. Quite a bit of cloud for Northern Ireland this evening too, but some bright spells here and some sunny spells across most of England and Wales. And as I said, really quite warm across the south, 26, 27 even for the evening rush hour. Now, as we go through the nights, not a great deal of change. The breeze picking up a little further in the far northwest, a bit more showery rain coming into the highlands perhaps, but most areas will stay dry again with light winds further south. Could see some mist and fog patches forming. Temperatures dipping to mid to high teens in some towns and cities. Again, rural spots will be a little bit cooler. On to Friday, a similar kind of day. Again, the vast majority across England and Wales will be dry, bright, mixture of cloud and sunny spells. Some showery rain just trickling its way down the west coast of Scotland. Could see some light showers across southern Scotland for a time. And there is the threat of more rain coming into the far northwest later. That will change things a bit as we go into the weekend.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The M27 westbound is closed between junctions 10 and 9 in Whiteley due to a collision. There is also a collision on the M27 westbound between junctions 3 and 2 in Romsey, causing slow traffic. The M32 southbound has delays following a collision between junctions 1 and 2 in Hambrook. The M1 southbound between junctions 21A and 21 in Leicester is slow following a collision. In Scotland, the A720 westbound has lane restrictions causing queues between Sheriff Hall roundabout and Miller Hill Junction. And on the trains, cross-country services have no trains between Torquay and Paignton. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 36 minutes past midday and some breaking news now.
Yes, Mohammed Bashir has been jailed at Manchester Crown Court for life with a minimum term of 17 years after he planned a separate terror attack with Manchester synagogue knife assailant Jihad al-Shami. Now, GB News national reporter Charlie Peters joins us now with the very latest. Tell us.
Well, Emily and Tom, this is an extraordinary set of developments from the sentencing of Mohammed Bashir today. A 31-year-old, minimum of 17 years, as you said, but described as a long-standing and committed jihadist and terrorist as he was sent down for that life sentence. But perhaps the most extraordinary detail we've got from this information is that Jihad al-Shami, his phones were seized but not assessed by Greater Manchester Police last year, and for that we have had an apology issued by Sir Stephen Watson, who is the Chief Constable of Greater Manchester Police. Also released for this sentencing is some footage of Mohammed Bashir and Jihad al-Shami meeting at a mosque last year as they started to prepare for their attacks. That is Jihad al-Shami on the screens, and this now is the meeting in August of last year where they had plotted together as committed jihadists. They then conducted a 10-hour round-trip drive down to the Defence Academy in Shrivenham, where al-Shami made notes about the security arrangements on the base on his phone under the title espionage. Terrorists can often be extremely stupid, but that evidence could have been captured when Greater Manchester Police arrested him in September of last year, but they failed to assess his phone. That will provide additional heartbreak and pain to the families affected by the Heaton Park synagogue attack on October the 2nd of last year, because that could have been a critical opportunity to intervene and see that this man was also, like Mohammed Bashir, a committed jihadist. Now, they had analysed 2 phones seized from al-Shami earlier in February of 2025, but they didn't look at all of those devices, and Sir Stephen Watson has issued an apology for that missed opportunity. But this is footage from the 9th of August at the Al-Sunnah Mosque in Manchester, where the 2 men mistakenly believe that they had hidden from the cameras in the mosque and that their conversations would not be overheard. Another critical security blunder by these 2 committed jihadists. Well, we can bring you a statement now from the assistant...
plotting in their place of worship.
That's right. They were plotting there. We can bring you a statement now from the Assistant Chief Constable, Rob Potts, from Counter-Terror Policing North West, who said that the Manchester-born Bashir, who holds a Pakistani passport, was a dangerous individual.
We believe that they were planning an attack using weapons, probably using bladed weapons, knives, and potentially using a crossbow as well. They hadn't fully kind of completed their plans, but based on searches and activity that we identified within the investigation, everything pointed to an attack with weapons, with 2 individuals, 2 attackers, and realistically, had that attack took place, it's highly likely we would have faced a number of fatalities and a large number of people with very serious injuries.
Well, this attack was foiled and Bashir was arrested. He had actually fled to Pakistan after the Heaton Park synagogue attack, was arrested upon his return. When he was sentenced today, he smiled towards family members in the dock in Manchester Crown Court before he was led away for that minimum 17 years for a life sentence. Now, there were some 2,000 WhatsApp messages shared between al-Shami and Bashir, where they shared highly anti-Semitic messages and extremist material. They had gone down to the Shrivenham Defence Academy, where Majors are trained, colonels, brigadiers, generals, but also foreign military soldiers and officers are trained as well, because they believe that IDF officers and soldiers could be there as well. They were committed jihadists and also, as we later learned from that synagogue attack on October the 7th, keen to kill Jews. They even discussed in their messages keeping Jews as concubines and killing Jewish men. Thankfully, one of those attacks was foiled, but there are serious questions for Greater Manchester Police after it was revealed that they had failed to assess all of the devices owned by Jihad al-Shami when they arrested him twice last year before those attacks.
And it turned out that Jihad al-Shami was a jihadist, which I think will come to shock so many people. Am I being facetious when I look at the name jihad and think, come on?
I once worked with a man called Jihad, and he was perfectly pleasant. But I think there are others who are not.
There we go, diplomatic answer there. So 17 years, minimum term of 17 years. Does that mean after those 17 years he'll be up for parole?
That is the earliest point at which he could be up for release. But as previously described, this is a committed jihadist, a long-standing and committed jihadist who smiled when he was sentenced. Something has changed in his life which has lured him towards political Islamist violence. He will have to demonstrate a clear change of heart within prison. And what we've seen so far is that rehab for jihad is extremely rare, particularly within cells. In prisons, often it's the case that extremism flourishes rather than reverses.
You're either with us or against us mentality.
I suspect it's highly unlikely that his mentality will change anytime soon.
Well, Charlie, a fascinating story. Thank you very much indeed. That jihadist jailed for life there.
Well, moving on. Today is about remembering extraordinary courage and sacrifice.
Yes, Lincoln is hosting the 6th International Bomber Command Day, marking 90 years since the RAF Bomber Command was formed back in 1936.
Well, our national reporter Jack Carson is in Lincoln at the service of remembrance for us. Jack.
Did you find the other ITV?
Yeah, well, good afternoon to you. We're just under an hour away from the beginning of this service, 90 years of Bomber Command. I'm delighted to introduce to you all Bert Hammond, who's 101 years old, was an air gunner in Bomber Command. Bert, just tell us, what does being here and being part of this anniversary today mean to you?
It means respect, service to the lads who never came back, because when you consider there was almost 50% of crews lost their lives, this is a kind of wonderful museum here. Each year they have respect for that. If you look around, it tells its own story.
Yeah, and of course, you know, right here in Lincoln, we're in the heart of Bomber County, and of course, you were an air gunner.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you did and some of the raids that you were on.
Well, one of the raids, which was a long-distance one, it was about 7.5 hours. We got caught, I think it was Stuttgart in southwest Germany. We got caught in what they call the radar searchlights. They're a blue one, and they just flick onto you straight away, and then all hell sets loose. And our skipper dived and through what they called window, that's metal strips, and we gradually, after a while, after diving and turning out there, we gradually lost it. But once they get you, about numerous manually operated searchlights come on, they got you.
And in that moment, what goes through your head? Because I suppose you've got a job to do, but you must be thinking about your own life.
You can't do much about it, because if you put the aircraft in there, the force of G, you can't move. You can't move. You just come up at the bottom. But the other thing is, of course, over the main German cities, the flak anti-aircraft fire was intense. The saying is they flew the kitchen sink. I believe they did. But the point is, you often, now when I think about it, you marvel how you got through it.
Yeah.
But you saw other crews being shot down. You saw all that. You saw, one night we saw 20 and shot down.
Yeah.
We were lucky. I'm lucky.
well, we are very lucky to have you here with us today, and we thank you for your service and everything that you've done to make sure that we've got all of the freedoms that we enjoy today. So, Bert, thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. As I was saying, that 90th year anniversary to mark Bomber Command, that service of remembrance is in just under an hour's time here in Lincoln.
Fantastic, Jack. What a privilege to be there and speak to Bert. Please do send our best wishes to him, and thanks for coming on the show at his grand age.
Absolutely. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain. We're on GB News. We've got lots more coming up.
Yes, King Charles, Queen Camilla and the Prime Minister head to Scotland for the Commonwealth Games opening ceremony. But did you know it was even happening?
Well, the World Cup sort of maybe took the shine off, but we're going to be there. But if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
There's some mixed weather across parts of Europe at the moment. We have a heat wave affecting western parts. This will ease into the weekend, but for the time being, temperatures for some around 5 to 10 degrees above average. Some places getting into the high 30s, low 40s perhaps. Eastern Spain into North Africa as well. Then further east, well, across parts of Greece and nearby nations, we have some intense thundery downpours. 75 millimetres of rain in just a few hours. Large hail, gusty winds could cause some problems.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
What do you think about where we're going to get our future athletes and our Olympians from when we're telling our children, oh, you can't go out and partake in sports today because it's a bit hot?
It really worries me. We have a generation that spend their life being very inactive, an awful lot of time on mobile telephones, coming up with every excuse as to not to move and not to be moving. Sport in schools is where we can catch every kid. And the kids that will lose out are the kids that come from areas of deprivation, because the parents that can afford to make sure their children do sport will still do that. But the parents that can't afford, sadly, will miss out. So it's really important that our kids, do enough physical activity, lay down these habits, understand about how their body works and nutrition and food and looking after themselves and health. We have a health crisis. It's really important we start early.
The People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News entertainment editor Alex Davies joins us now. What a woman, what a voice, what an incredible life. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, like you said, she's a singer whose songs have transcended generations, really. Everybody knows Total Eclipse of the Heart. Everybody knows Holding Out for a Hero. She's been awarded an MBE. She represented the UK at Eurovision. And it's just very sad. Tributes have already started to pour in from across the showbiz world and just fans in general, This is somebody who's, like I said, transcended generations with her music and will continue to do so posthumously.
Well,
Thanks so much. I met her just once in a green room. She was an absolute delight, and even speaking, she had that great rasping voice.
Oh, what an incredible voice.
Incredible voice.
GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
So you go along to the car showroom and only like 10%, at most maybe 15%, pay cash. The rest buy some form of financing. And you often buy, it's a bit like a mortgage, and it's like buying a mortgage from the estate agent, which we all know is a terribly bad idea. Yeah. But this is what people did. And the scandal is, the guys in the showroom were acting as dealers and brokers, and they were in many cases inflating the interest rate that you paid so that they could get bigger commission. And they didn't declare that. So you basically ended up paying more for your car than you would otherwise have done if you'd gone into the open market and found yourself, a better deal.
How did that come to light?
Well, over many years. I mean, this has been going on since 2007.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 10-1, and in breaking news, Katarina Johnson-Thompson and Dina Asher-Smith are among the latest big names to withdraw from the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow.
Yes, the duo are among 9 members of the England athletics team to pull out on the day of the opening ceremony in a major blow to the competition's organisers.
Oh, what's going on? Let's speak to our Scotland reporter, Tony Maguire, who's on the scene in Glasgow for us. Tony.
Yeah, good morning. Well, certainly this is going to be something of a blow. Obviously, already the Games was under a bit of under the cosh because this is arguably the most stripped back Commonwealth Games in modern history. Some say completely overshadowed by the recent World Cup. And really this is all stems back to 2023 when the Australian state of Victoria said that it could no longer commit to hosting the Games due to spiralling costs. Now, after nobody put their hands up, Glasgow said, sure, we'll do it, but with no public money. So this is a Games that is £100 million from the Commonwealth Games, about 50 million from commercial revenue streams, but that 150 million is barely a quarter of what the 2014 Commonwealth Games in Glasgow were, and indeed compared to 4 years ago in Birmingham, the Games is losing about 70 events with 20 sports stripped all the way back to 10, just 3,000 athletes competing here in Glasgow. But nevertheless, organisers are hopeful that perhaps in this modern world, the Glasgow Games can be something of a blueprint for Games going forward to make an affordable and a sustainable Commonwealth Games. Now, 74 nations are here. You can see many of the athletes starting to fill the village here around the Scottish Exhibition Centre. Already this morning I have spoke to some of the English athletes. Some have made it to the Games, some of the 3x3 para basketball team, as well as some Scottish boxers. They are all up for the fight. But tonight, really, over that opening ceremony at the Oval Hydro here in Glasgow, that's going to set the tone, and that is going to be attended, as you say, by the King and the Queen, as well as the new Prime Minister Andy Burnham. He will meet Scottish and Welsh First Ministers for the first time as they hope to get this Games off to a better start after its kind of rocky prelude. But indeed the question has remained of, has it really done enough in the build-up to the Games to capture the imagination of the public? Some people don't think so. John Swinney says Glasgow is ready for the Games. People on the ground over the last month or so haven't been so sure. I mean, the 2014 Commonwealth Games in Glasgow was a really high bar, and many fear that the lack of the BBC rights for the broadcasting of the sports is going to really do more damage. Nevertheless, it is going to be on that subscription service on TNT Sport and HBO Max.
Thank you very much indeed. Our Scotland reporter Tony Maguire there in Glasgow. Well, it sounds, it's a bit of a quiet event. I mean, dropping out sort of on the day of the Games is a bit much. I know they've got other things in their sporting calendar to prepare for, but even so.
Well, maybe the excitement's about to pick up once the opening ceremony has taken place.
Well, they're prioritising the European Championships, apparently. You know, Commonwealth Games. Not enough money in it, apparently.
It's a shame. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more still to come, of course, after your latest weather forecast.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, welcome along to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Yet again, most places not seeing a drop of rain today. Many areas having plenty of July sunshine, really quite warm across the south once more. High pressure is in control, but it is being pushed away. There are signs of things turning a bit wetter as we head towards the weekend. Even today, there will be 1 or 2 showers again over northwest Scotland, the odd light shower possible down the eastern side of England. It's not sunny everywhere. There are some areas of cloud tending to break up as we head into the afternoon and into the evening time, but still some areas keeping quite a bit of cloud through the day today. That'll keep the temperatures in the low 20s perhaps, but in the south with some sunshine, well, high 20s likely, 28, perhaps even 29 in 1 or 2 locations. Bit more of a breeze again coming into northwest Scotland. More coming in from the west or the southwest here, bringing in some showery rain at times to the Outer Hebrides and to Shetland. The odd light shower possible elsewhere across the west coast of Scotland, but generally most places dry. Quite a bit of cloud for Northern Ireland this evening too, but some bright spells here and some sunny spells across most of England and Wales. And as I said, really quite warm across the south, 26, 27 even for the evening rush hour. Now, as we go through the nights, not a great deal of change. The breeze picking up a little further in the far northwest, a bit more showery rain coming into the highlands perhaps, but most areas will stay dry again with light winds further south. Could see some mist and fog patches forming. Temperatures dipping to mid to high teens in some towns and cities. Again, rural spots will be a little bit cooler. On to Friday, a similar kind of day. Again, the vast majority across England and Wales will be dry, bright, mixture of cloud and sunny spells. Some showery rain just trickling its way down the west coast of Scotland. Could see some light showers across southern Scotland for a time, and there is the threat of more rain coming into the far northwest later. That will change things a bit as we go into the weekend.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
What would you do with £60,000 cash? What would you do with a real gold bar? Well, both have to be won in our Golden Summer celebration. First, there's £60,000 in tax-free cash to bolster your bank account this year. Plus, we'll also give you a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Bowl. They are under no illusion. Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis. In the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again.
To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Well, good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock on Thursday, the 23rd of July. I'm Emily Carver.
And I'm Tom Harwood. Well, Andy Burnham announces a 20% business rates cut for pubs, clubs and live music venues. But one of his own ministers admits the funding details are still being worked out. Is this another promise without a plan?
Well, while the government still continues to work out how they're going to pay for this in detail, pub landlords say it's a good starting point but won't really make any material difference or give them the support they need in order to survive.
So to solve these problems, should we tax the wealthy more? Gary Lineker is among 120 millionaires urging the government to hit the rich with higher taxes.
Meanwhile, a white man charged with assaulting a police officer after being attacked by two black men has his case dropped, while his attackers avoided court. Is this another example of two-tier policing?
And could net zero be making Europe hotter? New research suggests cleaner skies could be intensifying Britain's scorching heat waves by allowing more of the sun's heat to reach the ground. Yeah, there's a tricky thing with this pub's announcement. Apparently 4 pubs a day are closing. 1,100 pubs closed last year alone. 733 have closed this year so far.
There's another interesting angle about this. Business rates are supposed to be a sort of local tax, in a sense. A large proportion of the business rates get held by local authorities. Surely if Andy Burnham wants to sort of devolve power out of Westminster, doing a sort of one-size-fits-all policy for the whole of the country seems a bit strange. I mean, shouldn't this be up to local authorities to say, oh, we're going to lower your business rates or we're going to raise your business rates or whatever, and there'd be some form of competition across the country that would then perhaps be better for pubs?
Well, does he really want to give that power to local areas? It would be a test for him, wouldn't it? Mr. Burnham, he loves a bit of devolution. It's quite interesting that he talks so much about devolution because it was the last thing on the list of people's priorities, wasn't it?
Yeah.
People don't go to bed thinking, oh, devolution, I could do with a bit more of that.
No, but I don't think that politicians should always just do what is at the top of the opinion polls at any one time, because, I mean, there might be second-order effects of doing things like devolving tax decisions that actually enable certain parts of the country to grow faster and other ones to grow slower.
Yeah, but hang on. Local authorities, they don't exactly like cutting taxes, do they? They're just going to raise them.
No, but if they had to. So, I mean, this is why the United States works so well, for instance. You know, you get some states that decide to increase taxes a lot and burden businesses with regulations. We've seen that in California. And then lots of companies move to Texas. And it works because ultimately then there is that internal competition within the polity that means that you have a downwards pressure on those taxes because someone that wants to have a load of businesses open up in their area might well want to reduce their taxes and then that area doesn't get so much revenue and then they balance out.
Well, true, but as it stands, a lot of areas in this country would be stuck in probably very high tax areas, considering who's in charge of things in various local authorities.
But then if the people who are currently in charge...
No, I really disagree on the old devolution stuff. Because I think it's not made our country more unified, it's made us so much more divided. People are like, oh, Scotland will want to stay within the United Kingdom if, you know, we devolve a bit more power. In fact, it just accelerated the SNP, did it not?
The way in which it was done, yes.
Well,
because it wasn't symmetrical devolution.
You know, socialism's never been tried.
But
real devolution's never been tried.
If the current devolutionary settlement is currently just how do we spend the money that Westminster gives us, then of course you're going to get lots of economically illiterate leaders in various different parts of the country. However, if they also have to raise the money that they spend, then perhaps the incentives turn on their head.
Well, I'm not sure there's a plan for that, though. Theoretically, perhaps. GBnews.com/your say. Do get in touch today. Are you pleased about this tax relief for pubs? Do you think it goes far enough? Do you think Andy Burnham is ambitious enough when it comes to his cost of living blitz? Let us know. But at first, let's get the news headlines with Tatiana.
Thank you. Good afternoon. The top stories. A friend of the Manchester synagogue attacker has been jailed for life with a minimum of 17 years after the pair planned a separate attack on a military base. 31-year-old Mohammed Bashir drove Jihad al-Shami on a 10-hour round trip to conduct hostile reconnaissance at the UK's Defence Academy in Oxfordshire on the 14th of August last year. Weeks after that journey, al-Shami was shot dead by police after carrying out the Heaton Park synagogue attack in which 2 Jewish men were killed. Bashir was sentenced at Manchester Crown Court after pleading guilty to one count of preparing an act of terrorism. Elsewhere, Andy Burnham has celebrated the decision to cut business rates for pubs, clubs and live music venues by 20% by pouring a pint for Chancellor John Healey in Harlow in Essex. Andy Burnham has acknowledged concerns about the decline of British high streets and said it was an important signal to show he was a defender of pubs. The government says the move will save the typical pub £1,100 from their tax bill next year. It will benefit nearly 32,000 hospitality venues, they say. The policy will cost around £100 million and will, the government says, be funded by a review of tax reliefs given to businesses such as vape shops. But Kemi Badenoch had this to say.
Don't get me wrong. Cost of living pressures are real. But the problems go way beyond bus fares and VAT on bills. Families are struggling. Young people are worrying about whether they will ever earn enough to buy a home. Some are leaving the country in search of a better future. Businesses are closing. People are working harder but feeling poorer. I'm sorry, but going by what he's announced so far, Andy Burnham's ambitions for Britain are too small.
165 illegal migrants have now arrived in the UK on a so-called mega dinghy, smashing the record for the number crammed onto a single migrant boat. GB News counted the numbers of migrants as they were taken off the Border Security Command vessel Contender at Dover Harbour today. The mega dinghy had launched from the Bay of Somme on the French coast just after 6 o'clock this morning. It's the second day running that people smugglers have launched much larger migrant boats from further south on the French coast as they attempt to cram greater numbers on board and avoid French police patrols further north around Dunkirk and Calais. In other news, Gary Lineker has joined more than 100 British-based millionaires in calling on Andy Burnham to tax their wealth more, telling the new Prime Minister we can afford it. Mr Burnham has previously signalled his intention to overhaul the tax system in order to fund his policy ambitions as Prime Minister. Mr Burnham has previously declined to rule out a wealth tax, telling ex-footballer Lineker early this month that his government may ask for a little more. In other news, a teenage girl and a woman in her 40s have died after getting into difficulty in the sea at an Essex beach. A third person remains in hospital in a serious condition and 2 other people are in hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Earlier, the Coast Guard said it was called to a tragic accident on Wednesday around 5:30 p.m. Britain's biggest water company has announced a hosepipe ban for over 10 million customers as large parts of the country move closer to drought status following several heat waves in the country. Thames Water said the restriction has now come into effect. It means hosepipes shouldn't be used for watering gardens, cleaning cars or windows, or filling paddling pools, hot tubs or swimming pools. Officials say 23 million people across England are now under or facing restrictions. And Andy Burnham is going to be meeting the First Minister John Swinney during his visit to Scotland for the Commonwealth Games. It's the first in-person meeting between the Scottish and UK leaders since Mr Burnham became Prime Minister on Monday. And some breaking news this hour coming from the Games that Katarina Johnson-Thompson and Dina Asher-Smith are among the latest big names to withdraw from the Games in Glasgow. They're among 9 members of the England athletics team to pull out on the day of the opening ceremony in a major blow to the competition's organisers. Well, the Prime Minister will be watching that opening ceremony from the Games later today, where he's also going to be joined by the King and Queen. Those are the latest headlines, more at 1:30.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Good afternoon, Britain, 9 minutes past 1. An update on that breaking news to bring you now.
Yes, the mega dinghy, which has now reached the UK, is carrying 165 illegal migrants, smashing the record for the number crammed onto a single migrant boat.
Well, it launched from the Bay of Somme on the French coast just after 6 o'clock this morning. It's the second day running that people smugglers have launched these larger migrant boats from the further south of the French coast as they attempt to cram ever greater numbers on board and avoid French police patrols further north around Dunkirk and Calais.
Details of the latest arrivals will make grim reading for new Prime Minister Andy Burnham because he's yet to make any comment on the migrant crisis since entering Downing Street. Yes, it's almost as if this problem doesn't exist for Andy Burnham. He's got Shabana Mahmood in the Home Office, sure, the Home Secretary. She's been trying to get a little tougher on issues around asylum and deportations and everything. But Andy Burnham himself doesn't seem to be particularly bothered by this.
It's very bad timing for him because, of course, there was a long run when the weather was, frankly, too scalding hot for people to get into these boats, when then the wind was too high. That seems to have ended now. People are getting back on these boats over the last few days and the boats are coming again. While Andy's been able to ignore this for the last few weeks, he can't ignore it now.
No, and we know that just a tiny fraction of people who arrive in this country via this means, via small boat, or rather a large boat in this case, don't get sent back anywhere. No, they get put up in an asylum hotel. They're told then that they can stay there for a bit and then they're off to an HMO to live with a few other illegal migrants, and then they get their asylum claims looked at. It goes on and on and on and on. And in the meantime, no one's deported.
No.
Very few, anyway. I think sort of
even
2% or something.
Even
like
those
that,
who have their asylum claims turned down very often can't be deported for a variety of complicated reasons.
I mean, it is ridiculous. 165. We may as well be sending cruise ships over here at this point.
Well, in other news, the leader of the Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch, has hit back at Andy Burnham's spending spree, insisting more tax rises are on the horizon and the Prime Minister's ambitions are too small.
Don't get me wrong. Cost of living pressures are real. But the problems go way beyond bus fares and VAT on bills. Families are struggling. Young people are worrying about whether they will ever earn enough to buy a home. Some are leaving the country in search of a better future. Businesses are closing. People are working harder but feeling poorer. I'm sorry, but going by what he's announced so far, Andy Burnham's ambitions for Britain are too small.
Well, we're joined now by our national reporter, Will Godley. Tom and I were just looking at the latest popularity polling, and it looks like Burnham is getting quite a bounce with all of these cost of living announcements.
Well, they grab the headlines, don't they? And certainly give a good headline at that. People receiving more money, it would seem. But Kemi Badenoch isn't one too pleased by what she's reading. She wanted the Prime Minister to be bolder in his first few measures he announced, and also that she said in that speech, she said, is that it? And that's something we've not just heard from Kemi Badenoch today, but also pub landlords who, although welcoming what's been announced today, this 20% cut on business rates to pubs, also live music venues and clubs, they have said it should just be a starting point. And what really would help them is a cut to VAT on beer and alcohol that they're selling in their pubs. And we've also had that same sentiment, is that it, from other leaders in other hospitality sectors, restaurants, hotel, wondering why they've been missed off from this business rates cut. Now, this measure is going to cost £100 million. The government says they're going to pay for it from maybe perhaps reviewing vape shops and other businesses that they say are not conducive to a good local high street. So that's perhaps areas they're going to tax in order to pay for this cut.
Well, Will Godley, thank you very much indeed, live from Westminster.
OK, well, joining us now is the former Cabinet Office Chief Economist, Jonathan Portes. Jonathan, thank you for joining us this afternoon. So Andy Burnham's cost of living policy blitz, how's it going down in your mind? Do you think these are effective policies for trying to make people's lives a little bit easier?
Effective, but I think the key word that you just used was little bit. These are very much marginal measures. They will help a lot of people with a relatively small amount of money, and that will help some businesses, as you just said. But obviously, this isn't a sort of overall coherent strategy for restoring growth or public services or addressing the cost of living. And I think, to be fair, you would not expect that in your first week on the job as Prime Minister. If it were so easy to do this, it would probably have been done already. So I think it's perfectly sensible to say we're going to do some relatively small things now that cost relatively small amounts of money, but then the really difficult decisions and trade-offs will have to wait for the autumn and presumably for the budget.
Do you buy the sort of quote-unquote costings that have been liberally applied, perhaps, by Number 10 to these various announcements? The idea that you can shift climate finance from grants to loans, the idea that there's some cancellation of something that's not funded that can fund something else, or indeed, as we hear today, a new tax that's going to come on vape shops and other businesses, but we don't know what those other businesses are. It's all a bit amorphous.
Frankly, I think that sort of discussion reflects equally badly both on the government and the media, because it's just completely absurd and ridiculous. The idea that that governments have to find funding to pay for £100 million here or £300 million here. That is simply not how the macroeconomy works. If you look at the public sector borrowing requirements, public sector finances that were released just a couple of days ago, you will find that actually in the last publication that the ONS revised down the borrowing last year by a few £billion.
But Jonathan, that's an argument for making all of these announcements at the time of a budget. That's an argument for doing it all as one big package, because you can see, OK, this is how much headroom we have, this is what we can fit within this headroom, instead of doing all of these bitty announcements, frankly, to pump up poll ratings.
I think that's exactly right. These are just, that's just politics. And I think that's fine. Politicians are going to do their thing and make bitty announcements that aren't in the budget. Your media is going to talk about them. But you're right. The big decisions and the overall public finances, we will have to wait for the budget for that. So, for example, there was a report I just saw now that Burnham is considering options for a national care service. That could cost up to £18 billion. Now, that is not that would be serious. That would cost some of us a lot of money. It would save other people a lot of money. It might or might not be a good thing. But that is the sort of thing you have to do over time at a budget and show clearly how much you're going to spend and how it's going to be paid for in a way that convinces people. These announcements of cutting VAT on pubs or reducing bus fares, I think those are finer politics, but we shouldn't regard them as being economically significant either in a positive or a negative way, frankly.
OK, and Jonathan, just lastly, the big news today as well that Gary Lineker has put his name to a letter demanding that the government tax wealthy people more, including himself, of course. This is a 2% tax on the assets of people worth more than £10 million. Are you supportive of that?
I am supportive of higher taxes on relatively wealthier people and on capital. And I think it's admirable that these people are saying, yes, we are public spirited. The country would be much better off if people like us paid quite a lot more. And I think that is absolutely correct. I'm not particularly keen on this particular proposal. I'm not convinced it would be workable or that it would have the right impacts economically. So I think the broad approach is fine, and it's commendable that people are saying that they're willing to pay more. But I think, let's get the Treasury to work out what an actually sensible tax on capital gains, property and so on would look like, not random millionaires.
Well, I suppose HMRC have their names now, so they could make a very specific, targeted extra tax for these ones, at least. Jonathan Portes, thank you very much indeed. Appreciate your time. Former Cabinet Office Chief Economist there, Jonathan Portes.
Fascinating. I mean, one of the difficulties with a wealth tax is you have to value everything.
Yes.
And I mean, if someone's bought a house 30 years ago and hasn't sold, I mean, how much is that house actually worth? I mean, someone might say one number, someone might say another number, and then you've got the point of people who own shares in companies. Now, their wealth changes by the day. And if suddenly there's going to be this massive wealth tax where people are going to have to sell shares in order to pay that tax, well, then the value of the company that they've got shares in would go down because the market would know there'd be a massive flood of shares being sold. I mean, it's a completely dynamic situation. It's a nonsense.
It is. It is an absolute nonsense. And, you might have a very expensive piece of artwork in your home, or, very expensive piano that's worth $1 million or $2 million. Would that come under it?
I mean, this is what completely sank. We did a form of sort of wealth tax. Well, we did a land value tax in 1909 in the People's Budget. And I remember it well. It was eventually got rid of because the litigation of very wealthy people saying, no, my thing isn't worth this, it's actually worth this. The absolute teams of civil servants that they had to get and value everything in the country. I mean, it was an impossible task for a government to do.
I just don't understand why they don't just pay a bit more themselves. Film director Richard Curtis has written that he wants to pay more. The crime author Val McDermid, Gary Stevenson, of course, who is the ex-City trader, and former Greggs Bakery chairman. So there you go.
Goodness me, it's a bit of a lovies tax, isn't it?
They could just make a little extra tax for them, couldn't they?
It would be novel. But why don't we move on to another financial matter? Yes, it's time for the Great British Giveaway now.
This is tax-free, Tom.
This is completely tax-free. Perhaps your chance to enter the realm of the Gary Lineker class. Yes, you could bank an incredible £60,000 in tax-free cash and your very own real gold bar worth £5,000. Here are all the details for the chance to make it yours.
What would you do with £60,000 cash? What would you do with a real gold bar? Well, both have to be won in our Golden Summer celebration. First, there's £60,000 in tax-free cash to bolster your bank account this year. You could spend it on treats, splash out on the family, or just save it for a rainy day. It's entirely up to you. Plus, we'll also give you a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. That's genuine gold that you could gift to a loved one or just lock up in your own personal vault. The gold and the cash really could be yours. For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, good luck indeed. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's programme.
Yes, as we're discussing, Gary Lineker is among the 120 millionaires urging the government to hit the rich with higher taxes. So should we tax the wealthy more? We'll debate that.
But after the break, a white man charged with assaulting a police officer after being attacked by 2 black men has his case dropped, while his attackers avoided court entirely. Is this another example of two-tiered policing?
Yes, we'll get to the crux of that. All of that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories.
And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Well, good afternoon, Britain. It's 26 minutes past 1.
Now, just a warning that the following story does contain some footage that viewers at home may find distressing.
A white man who was charged with assaulting a police officer has now had his case dropped.
Yes, 20-year-old Cody Harper was arrested after he was seemingly attacked by 2 black men back on the 21st of June in Birmingham.
Bro, please, I'm trying to go. I'm telling you now, get in the car.
Yo!
Yes, I will give you everything. I will give you everything. I will give you everything, I promise you.
Really, I found it difficult to watch that, actually. But now the Crown Prosecution Service dropped the case against Mr Harper after concluding there was insufficient evidence to prosecute him.
It was a case that sparked accusations of two-tier policing, with Robert Jenrick saying the police are in denial about this issue. Shall we speak to the former Scotland Yard detective Mike Neville on this? Mike, what do you make of that footage and what we saw from the police, and then also the decision to drop the charges?
Well, it will just fuel the accusation of two-tier policing, that, you know, the police officers see somebody who's black and assume that they must be victims, and they see somebody who's white and assume that they're the sort of suspects. And it sort of plays into the terrible case and terrible death of Henry Novak, that people saw the same thing. And it would be easy to deal with the officers involved here, but they would be just sacrificial lambs in my view. It is the senior officers who have filled their heads full of this. You've got youngsters who've been through school, who've been told that Britain is a racist place, racism is a wicked thing, and then they've gone to, instead of going to the military-style police training like I went to, they go to universities where there's more of the same, and then even more when they get to be a full-time officer, they get bombarded with the same DEI stuff. So it would be very easy to blame them. It's the senior officers who need to change, and change this now.
There's also various statutory obligations and guidance and all the rest of it that frankly prioritises community cohesion above what might necessarily be effective policing. People tiptoe around certain communities because they don't want to seem like they're targeting a minority.
Yeah, the biggest fear of a police officer is to be accused of racism, and that fear results in them not doing things that they should do. Maybe they don't stop and search something, they don't find a knife because they're afraid of being called racist, because that can be career threatening. This has all got to change. We've got to get back to treating people the same. Doesn't matter if you're black or white, male or female, gay or straight. You should accept the same service and get the same service. And what we're seeing, like with the College of Policing guidance, is seemingly all very well-meaning, but treating people differently means that some people get better treatment from the police than others, and that is not good in a society.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the police would say they were, trying to work in a very fast-moving scenario. Just to recap what actually happened. So Cody Harper, the white man, 20 years old, so he was arrested. Now, previously he was being assaulted by two black men. This is all in the early hours in Birmingham. And then he was pushed to the ground by one man while another tried to punch him in the back of the head. Then the female police officer appears to push him against the wall as he's getting up, to which he does react. He does react by swinging his arm and sort of punching near her head, it appears. And that's why he was initially charged with assault on an emergency worker. But is the issue here that actually he was being caught up in a fight? He was being attacked initially, and so his reaction when then being pinned up against the wall was to sort of lash out because he'd just been involved in something violent that happened before against him.
Yeah, of course. So, he is lashed out. He doesn't. I don't think he realises it's a police officer. And he's almost apologetic, it would seem. But what we have, and the police, when you're a police officer, you turn up to things and it's confusion, it's chaos. But what we have now is seemingly people are looking at the police. The British police used to be the best respected police in the world, seen as free, as fair and decent, unarmed officers doing their best. But what these sort of cases do is they drop trust and confidence in policing even more. And trust and confidence in policing in this country is at rock bottom. And it's really tragic because, as I say, British policing was the world's best, the premier service, and we need to get back to that. But it is the senior officers who are responsible, not the hard-working officers on the front line.
OK, Mike Neville, thank you very much indeed, former Scotland Yard detective. We're going to be speaking to Reform UK's Robert Jenrick on this because he's been talking about it quite a lot in recent weeks. We'll get his perspective.
That's coming up in the next hour. Well, a spokesman for the West Midlands Police said, "We acknowledge and respect the decision of the CPS to discontinue the case against Cody Harper, who was charged with assaulting a police officer on Broad Street in Birmingham earlier this month, as there was sufficient evidence to provide a realistic prospect of conviction."
This was a spontaneous incident on a busy street in Birmingham city centre, with officers dealing with a number of incidents in a short period of time. As a result of further footage being released, a further assault was recorded and an investigation was carried out. The victim in that offence chose not to make a statement to officers, but we were able to identify the offenders as a result of our investigation. Two men were interviewed under caution for that offence and have now been given out-of-court disposals.
Meanwhile, a Crown Prosecution Service spokesperson has said this.
Following a careful review of all the evidence, including video footage of the incident, we concluded there was insufficient evidence to prosecute the suspect for assaulting a police officer. We have therefore stopped proceedings and written to both the suspect and the complainant affirming this.
They continue. "We recognise assaults committed against emergency workers are abhorrent crimes, both against the victim and against society as a whole."
Well, the Prime Minister has spoken in the last few moments. He's announced this 20% business rates cuts for pubs, clubs and live music venues.
This is a first step today, but it's an important step. I made this commitment in the Makerfield by-election because we're losing pubs. Pubs need to know that, the cavalry is coming. This is, to me, our heritage. It's working class culture. Once pubs are gone, they don't come back. So we've just to signal what support when we can. That's why I've made this early announcement. This is a significant cut to the business rates that pubs and other venues pay. It could make the difference for a number of venues that are struggling, and it was right to confirm it quickly because, as I say, so much good happens bringing communities together, and when these places are gone, they don't come back, and we can't afford to lose any more.
Obviously, it's the fourth such move in as many days. How are you going to fund this one, and are we looking at tax increases at all?
Well, this is funded from within a change to business rates, because you can't see all businesses the same. Some do real good in communities, and this pub where we are today, right in the heart of the community here in Harlow, bringing people together, met a older ladies mental health group. It's just a great thing that we still have places where people can come. But other businesses can cause social harm, so adult gaming centres on high streets can often bring real harm to communities. Then people will see the vape shops that often don't add much to community life and cause other issues too. So it's about developing a business rates regime where we really give incentives to support the businesses that bring benefits and look differently at those that cause social harm. And that's the change that we will bring through.
When you say look differently, what does that mean?
Well, they
what will we see?
obviously pay higher rates to give the ability then to cut business rates for pubs and other venues that bring people together and bring wider benefits to high streets and communities. I know there's a real concern out there about the high street and the feeling that too many high streets across Britain are in decline. And for me, the pubs that we've got are at the heart of high streets, and I think it's really important to signal at the start of my time in office that I will be a defender for them, I will speak up for them and act. It's all about doing, isn't it? I'm doing something today. It may not be everything that they're looking for, but sometimes the small things matter as well.
Well, can he get the people of Essex on side?
Essex is, interestingly, the part of the country that has the lowest approval rating of Andy Burnham. So relatively admirable that actually he went to Essex on, day 3 of him being Prime Minister, third full day of him being Prime Minister, going to the one part of the country that has the deepest negative ratings for Andy Burnham. He could have easily gone to Manchester, where he's hailed like a god, but instead going...
By Mancunians. Mancunians,
not
sorry.
by all Mancunians, no, but he does have North Korean levels of approval there.
Well, there you go. Lots more coming up on today's show. Yes, Gary Lineker back in the news among 120 millionaires, urging the government to hit the rich like him with higher taxes. I think they just want to tell everyone how rich they are when they do this stuff. Look at me. I can pay more tax. Look at me. Anyway, we'll debate that.
All of that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Hello again, welcome along to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Yet again, most places not seeing a drop of rain today. Many areas having plenty of July sunshine, really quite warm across the south once more. High pressure is in control, but it is being pushed away. There are signs of things turning a bit wetter as we head towards the weekend. Even today, there will be 1 or 2 showers again over northwest Scotland, the odd light shower possible down the eastern side of England. It's not sunny everywhere. There are some areas of cloud tending to break up as we head into the afternoon and into the evening time, but still some areas keeping quite a bit of cloud through the day today. That'll keep the temperatures in the low 20s perhaps, but in the south with some sunshine, well, high 20s likely, 28, perhaps even 29 in 1 or 2 locations. A bit more of a breeze again coming into northwest Scotland, more coming in from the west or the southwest here, bringing in some showery rain at times to the Outer Hebrides and to Shetland. The odd light shower possible elsewhere across the west coast of Scotland, but generally most places dry. Quite a bit of cloud for Northern Ireland this evening too, but some bright spells here and some sunny spells across most of England and Wales. And as I said, really quite warm across the south, 26, 27 even for the evening rush hour. Now, as we go through the nights, not a great deal of change. The breeze picking up a little further in the far northwest, a bit more showery rain coming into the highlands perhaps, but most areas will stay dry again with light winds further south. We could see some mist and fog patches forming. Temperatures dipping to mid to high teens in some towns and cities. Again, rural spots will be a little bit cooler. On to Friday, a similar kind of day. Again, the vast majority across England and Wales will be dry, bright, mixture of cloud and sunny spells. Some showery rain just trickling its way down the west coast of Scotland. Could see some light showers across southern Scotland for a time. And there is the threat of more rain coming into the far northwest later. That will change things a bit as we go into the weekend.
Thank you, Britain, for all of you who listen to GB News Radio.
Whether you're at home or on the go, you're making us Britain's news channel and Britain's radio station.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The M27 westbound is closed between junctions 7 and 5 near Southampton Airport. There is a collision on the M6 southbound at junction 3 in Coventry. The A428 is closed after the A1 near St Neots. The A5 is closed after the A453. In Scotland, the A720 westbound has lane restrictions causing queues between the A7 at Sheriff Hall roundabout and the A68 at Miller Hill Junction. And on the trains, cross-country services are not running between Torquay and Paignton, and East Midlands railway services have a reduced timetable. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 20-2, and Gary Lineker has urged Andy Burnham to impose a wealth tax on himself and other millionaires.
Yes, the former presenter is among 120 UK-based millionaires, and former footballer, we should say as well. He's among 120 UK-based millionaires calling on Andy Burnham to impose higher taxes on their wealth.
But is he right? Should the very wealthy pay even more tax? And frankly, would it work?
Well, we're joined by the founder of Patriotic Millionaires UK, Julia Davies, and the managing director of WeFix London, Ashley Mullins. OK, Julia, please put the case forward. Why should we have a wealth tax?
Well, as your stories today have illustrated, there are whole areas of life in Britain now where the public sector and infrastructure is significantly underfunded. So we know we need to get some money. We know where the money is because all of our research shows that there's been a considerable concentration of wealth into the hands of fewer and fewer people. So we have just 50 of the wealthiest families in the UK having more wealth between them than half of all British people. So that's 50 families with more wealth than, 34 million people. And we really need to find the money from somewhere.
Julia, I'm confused. What do you mean underfunded? I mean, currently we collect more in tax than we have ever collected before as a country. And we spend more as a country, as a government. More as a proportion of our GDP is being spent than just about any other time outside of pandemic or war.
So we have a criminal justice system which is creaking at its hinges. So, you know, one of the stories today is about having to release prisoners early. This is from years of underfunding of our criminal justice system. Our police work really hard. They bring criminals to justice and then they have to wait years for those criminals to face trial. And even when they get them into prison, they're now having to be released early.
Why do you think that's a funding issue?
Because it is a funding issue. We have been underfunding our court system and our prisons for a very long time.
No, we just haven't built enough prison spaces. That's not necessarily an issue of cost. I mean, we're spending a lot of money on HS2. That doesn't mean it's the most effective railway in the world.
Building prisons costs money. Not having enough prison spaces is a monetary matter. So one of the figures that brought me into getting more involved in Patriotic Millionaires.
You know the difference between fiscal and monetary, I presume.
One of the issues that brought me into getting involved in this organisation was a statistic which blew my mind, quite frankly, and it's that 35 years ago when the Sunday Times Rich List started, net wealth in the UK of our public sector was about £340 billion. 35 years later, that had dropped to minus $1 trillion. There'd been an extreme movement and transfer of wealth from us all, everyone in Britain. You know, we all benefit from our public services and infrastructure into very wealthy people. During that time, the 200 richest families' wealth had gone up 17 times over. So we need to access this money. We cannot.
So you're trying to make an argument about net assets owned by the state there. Before we get into the details, let's bring in Ashley Mullins on some of that. Ashley, what do you make of what you were hearing there from Julia?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, guys. And, you know, the whole thing for me personally, I believe, is a bit of a joke. You know, we've got people out there that have worked hard all their life to be able to get things that they want to get, spend on what they want to spend, and families for generations that have done that. So for them to be taxed, I mean, me personally, my family's over 200 million we've given in tax, and we will always give our tax, but to then tax us more on the hard work that we've done, I believe is, you know, a bit of a joke. I think what the government should be doing is giving more incentives to businesses, small businesses, to get our youngsters off the streets and giving apprenticeships, give businesses the money to be able to allow youngsters to come into their workplace, learn and earn at the same time, and then from there we build our country back up.
I mean, to the point that Ashley, that Julia was saying there about, you know, our services being on their knees. Do you not care about the state of our prisons, Ashley?
I mean, obviously I care about the state of the country and the prisons come into that, but the reason that our prisons are so busy is because there's not enough opportunities for youngsters, my generation. There's not enough opportunities out there for them to get into apprenticeships, and that's why our prisons are getting filled up. You give them more incentives, you get them into apprenticeship, you get them into a workplace, then that cuts that bit down.
Well, on that point, Julia, you know, people don't just become millionaires overnight, very few anyway. Most of the people who are millionaires in this country have done something good, i.e. started a business, they've employed a huge number of people, they've gone on to expand. Surely we should be celebrating that rather than punishing.
Oh, paying tax is not a punishment, you know, so everybody pays tax out of their income. Actually,
well, exactly, they already do, so why more?
Actually, I'm completely with you. I completely agree that we're not supporting our young people into work, and that requires investment. We also need investment in all the youth services, which have gone and disappeared. So when I was a youngster, there was a youth club that everyone could go to. That's one of the factors which is leading young people into crime. So totally agree. We're not investing in our young people in the way that we should and need to. I left university with no debt whatsoever, because when I was at university, you didn't have to pay fees. I absolutely agree with you. We need to be investing more in apprenticeships and young people in general, overall. But that does require investment, and that does require that those with the broadest shoulders need to provide that investment. And now we have this extreme concentration of the wealth into the hands of a relatively small number of people. Now, of course, when people work hard and build up businesses and provide jobs, they should be rewarded for that. But contributing to our country, that's not a punishment. So doctors and head teachers and nurses, they work really, really hard and they pay tax out of their income. And we cannot continue to just focus on income tax, because we have two things going on in our country which mean that we've got to look at things differently. We need to future look at our whole tax system. One is we have an aging population, which means we have a shrinking number of working people looking after expanding retired population. That's great. That's brilliant. That's because we've had improved healthcare and we have AI coming along. There's increasing wealth that's coming along without job creation. So we've got to look at this. We've got to start looking at taxing wealth. And that's not punishment.
Well, there's a lot of people who are completely out of work, so that might help with the balance of our accounts as a country. But Julia Davies and Ashley Mullins, really appreciate your time on this one. Let us know your thoughts at home, gbnews.com/your say. I do just think, you know, putting your name to a letter like this is a bit of a look at me, I'm so rich.
Yeah, ultimately, every single...
Not exactly a quiet thing. You could just pass a check.
Every single economist worth their salt who's whether they're on the left or the right. I mean, we were talking to Jonathan Portes a little bit earlier. I mean, everyone who's looked at this, who's a proper economist, has gone, look, even if we do want to make the rich pay more, a wealth tax is a really bad way to do it.
Also, it'd be nice if we got people who have been out of work for years and years and years and living off benefits to get back to work. That might help too.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more still to come.
Is net zero actually making Europe hotter? New research suggests cleaner skies could be intensifying Britain's scorching heat waves by allowing more of the sun's heat to reach the ground. Curious.
Well, if you're in search of some of that heat that's hitting the ground, the sand, the sea, or even yourself, well, here's the weather in Europe.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
There's some mixed weather across parts of Europe at the moment. We have a heat wave affecting western parts. This will ease into the weekend, but for the time being, temperatures for some around 5 to 10 degrees above average. Some places getting into the high 30s, low 40s perhaps. Eastern Spain into North Africa as well. Then further east, well, across parts of Greece and nearby nations, we have some intense thundery downpours. 75 millimetres of rain in just a few hours. Large hail, gusty winds could cause some problems.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Should James Bond stay white and male?
Yes, I think that's probably the best course of action. If you think about it, Amazon have taken over Bond about a year ago, and they're a big company, aren't they? And this is a risk, isn't it? They don't want to be seen to cast their first James Bond in anything other than the most popular Bond to everybody. So if you're a casting director, like Debbie McWilliams has said, the previous one, I suppose it'd be who would be the most popular? What's the safest thing to do? So I think, in other iterations, there's nothing to say it couldn't be anything other than white, but this is the first one back, so I think it will be the safe thing to do. And it has to be a man. That's non-negotiable. I think audiences would instantly be complaining, and they want as little controversy going into this new film as they can.
The People's Channel. Martin Daubney. Weekdays from 3 p.m.
With the football, a row has erupted. A racism row again, this time at a Kent secondary school after pupils' children were allegedly told to scrub painted England flags from their arms because, you've guessed it, they were deemed as racist. Is this the woke flag monitors simply spoiling everybody's fun?
Now, look, if we are going to police flags, that's clearly a problem. I think there are lots of people who feel negatively towards the England flag because of what it's represented in the past, and that's a real shame. But it's nice to see that new generations, I'm the son of immigrants, and I don't feel that. I haven't inherited that, and that's really positive. Look, so we should be able to, especially during a football match, fly that flag with pride and enjoy it.
I know that part of the world a little bit. I travelled to Broadstairs, Thanet, Sandwich. You see the Union flag, and particularly the England flag, everywhere.
Yes.
Even under normal circumstances, you see the England flag being proudly flown. So this is completely insane.
The People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
There was a Ryanair flight from Thessaloniki in Greece, and a part of the plane hit the window and pulled it out. And so this man, a 61-year-old Serbian man, was sucked out of the window. And his wife, she says that she was desperately holding onto his legs to keep him inside the plane for 5 minutes. Wow. It was horrendous. Apparently the aircraft did eventually land normally and passengers were safe and a replacement airline was sent. He was taken to hospital with friction burns. It was a part of the propeller had come loose from the engine and it had hit the window, and that's what had taken the window out. So it wasn't as though it was thought to be loose in the first place. But can you imagine?
No.
I mean,
I don't want to.
Unbelievable.
I'm not
a good flyer,
I have to admit.
This terrifies me.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Well, it sounds backwards, doesn't it? Cleaner air is good news, I think. But scientists now say it's also helping Britain's heat waves become more intense.
Yes, new research involving the Met Office suggests with fewer pollution particulates blocking the sun, more heat is reaching the ground, making Europe's hot spells stronger and longer, even as cutting pollution obviously improves clean air, and is something we all want.
Yeah, better for our health, I would say. Well, we're joined by meteorologist John Ketley. John, does this make sense to you? Is this something you've noticed as well?
Well, as a scientist, of course, it all does make sense, because if you've got the warmer world and cleaner atmosphere, then we are probably going to get more heat waves. And for many people, of course, that's a good thing, especially in the summer months, trying to get a decent holiday. But of course, it's not for everybody, as we know. And sometimes these things are a little bit counterintuitive. I mean, we talk about improved air quality, and of course we do with improved motor technology. Down at ground level, we see much cleaner atmosphere, or we're trying to get that way, at least with ULEZ and things like that. But of course, we've still got more wildfires developing. So people challenging climate change will say that, well, we've got more wildfires. Is that because of climate change? And is that also going to make it a rather worse condition, because we're going to get more particulates into the atmosphere? And that doesn't mean to say that we're going to get warmer. We'll probably get some cooler conditions, if anything. Yeah. And wildfires, we don't want to see those wherever you are. So some things about this research are very good. Others, I'm not so sure. A bit of a climate change issue, I think. But what I would say is that it does show that the jet stream is going to become more, well, blocked.
Oh dear.
And if you get blocking with the jet stream, you are more likely to get longer periods of warmer, sunny weather. In the winter time, of course, you could still get some periods of colder weather, but not necessarily quite as extreme.
John, when you
as
say blocking the jet stream, I mean, we without the jet stream, we'd be we'd be sort of a Canadian climate, wouldn't we?
Well, we can't live without this jet stream. It's always going to be there, but it does relax and it does become more powerful at times. The Canadian climate, of course, is extreme, isn't it? We've got long cold winters, and we've got some extremely cold weather in Canada, but then a lot of hot summers as well. So I don't think we're going to go quite that far, Tom,
well,
really.
Fingers crossed. John Ketley, thanks indeed for joining us and talking through this interesting little quirk of science. Much more to come after your latest weather forecast.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, yes, it is time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. There are signs of a change on the horizon, but for most places, tomorrow again is dry and fine, quite hot across the southeast. Now, there will be some rain coming into the northwest from this weather front, slowly increasing the cloud through the rest of today and overnight. Elsewhere, we've seen a mix of cloud and sunny spells. Hasn't been blue skies everywhere, and there's even been 1 or 2 light showers dotted around. We'll continue to see some showery rain over the Highlands and the Western Isles overnight, and some of that rain could trickle down towards Glasgow as well. But most places staying dry, again, perhaps turning a little misty through the early hours, 1 or 2 fog patches as temperatures, certainly in the countryside, down into single digits, most towns and cities between about 12 and 17 Celsius. On to Friday, pretty similar today. You could wake up with a bit of mist and fog, but that should clear away. But we will have this thicker cloud in western Scotland, that weather front we saw earlier, providing some rain and drizzle at times along the west coast in particular, and perhaps even into the southwest. The northern parts of Northern Ireland may also see a little bit of showery rain and quite a grey start for much of Northern Ireland too. Some mist and low cloud over parts of England and Wales to begin with, but a lot of sunshine again here. And as we go through the day, I think the mist and low cloud will tend to break up to reveal some sunny spells. The rain and drizzle will fizzle as it spreads its way south through Northern Ireland and into southernmost parts of Scotland. So a little bit of light rain here and there, but most places staying dry. Brightening up in eastern Scotland with some sunny spells coming through, lifting the temperatures into the 20s. Further south, mid to high 20s, and we could get close to 30 degrees across the southeast once more. We are going to see more wet weather coming into the northwest during tomorrow evening. This weather front's got a bit more about it. That rain will spread more widely over Northern Ireland and eventually into northern England during Saturday. Further south, one more sunny day, but then things turn showery and more cooler for all of us by Sunday.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
We're celebrating a golden summer with your chance to win a real gold bar. That's right, a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 could be yours. We're also going to make sure your finances are fabulous with £60,000 in tax-free cash. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there.
With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again.
To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Thursday, the 23rd of July. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Emily Carver. Well, a mega dinghy has arrived in the UK. Yes, the biggest ever. 165 illegal migrants have arrived on this large vessel, smashing the record for the number of migrants crammed onto one single migrant boat.
Meanwhile, Andy Burnham announces a 20% business rate cut for pubs, clubs and live music venues. But one of his own ministers admits the funding details are still being worked out. Is this another promise without a plan?
And should we tax the wealthy more to pay for it all? Well, Gary Lineker, of course, is among 120 millionaires urging the government to hit them with higher taxes.
Elsewhere, a white man charged with assaulting a police officer after being attacked by two black men has had his case dropped, while his attackers, well, they avoided court entirely. Is this another example of two-tier policing? Well, we'll speak to the Reform politician Robert Jenrick, who's been very vocal about this issue.
A hosepipe ban is now in force for more than 10 million Thames Water customers, meaning no watering gardens, no washing cars and no filling up those paddling pools.
Well, that hosepipe ban implemented by Thames Water will affect over 10 million people. Of course, people's gardens will bear the brunt, but with summers in the UK becoming more extreme, we're asking people, is this the new norm?
And after the news that an AI model reportedly escaped its secure testing environment and hacked into a private company, we'll debate whether we should shut down AI before it shuts us down.
Well, the Conservatives have slammed Andy Burnham's spending spree, with the Tory leader saying the PM must rule out tax rises to pay for his spending spree.
Well, GB News political editor Christopher Hope has spoken to the Conservative Party leader, the leader of His Majesty's most loyal opposition, Kemi Badenoch. Let's take a listen.
Kemi Badenoch, thank you for talking to GB News today. When you became leader, your party was riding at 26 points in the polls. Now you're 21 points. Why is the country not listening to you?
The country is listening. What we're seeing is that we're now in an era of multi-party politics. What I'm doing is setting out a common sense plan that's actually going to get the country back together. And I think that when there is election, whether it's tomorrow or next year or the year after, the country will deliver a verdict. Every other party is messing about right now. Nigel Farage is fighting a by-election to get a job he already had. Andy Burnham is announcing things but doesn't say where he's going to get the money from. We're probably going to see more tax rises. I'm doing my job, holding Labour to account and changing my party so that people can see that we're a new party ready to serve the country again.
New polling says that you and Andy Burnham personally are in positive territory. The other leaders are not in positive territory. Are you ready for an election, and could that be this autumn in your eyes?
I am ready for an election, because being ready for an election is not just having the leaflets printed. Being ready for an election also means having a plan that the country can buy into and having the people ready to deliver it. Burnham doesn't have a plan. Farage doesn't have the people. He's not even an MP right now. What I want people to see is I've explained how we're going to lower energy costs, how we're going to drill our own oil and gas in the North Sea, how we're going to get people who can work, who are not working because they're on benefits, back into work. It's common sense stuff. We're the common sense party.
So you're election ready, you say, but you won't call for one. It's always subject to a funded defence plan.
I said Andy Burnham, if he does not fund that defence investment plan, he should call an election, because quite frankly, defence of the realm is the first duty of government. But I'm consistent. When Boris Johnson took over from Theresa May, there wasn't an election immediately. I didn't call for one. I didn't call for one with Liz Truss or Rishi Sunak. I'm not calling for one with Andy Burnham, because I'm somebody who is consistent. It wouldn't matter whether it was Reform Labour or us. We vote a party in, and then the party picks the leader. Right now, it doesn't matter who Labour is picking. It's still the same Labour Party. They're all about welfare.
You attacked Andy Burnham for not having enough business experience in his top team.
I don't think he has any business experience.
Well, whatever, yes. Not enough.
Or private sector experience.
Or private sector. But someone who does is Grant Shapps. He's built a business worth $3.5 billion since the general election. Why have you banned him from your party?
Grant Shapps is a great guy. I have not banned him from the party.
Yes, you have. He said he can't stand.
That's not true. He's not been banned from the party. But one of the things that I want people to see is that this is a new Conservative Party with new people, new policies, new plans. GBNews viewers were very angry with the Conservative Party in 2024. I remember. Yes. And I think that what they want to see is that I'm taking the party in a new direction. I talked about people like Gavin Barwell, who had the whip removed. I explained why. I've said that anybody who wants more immigration can't join the party. We've got to leave the ECHR. Anyone who wants this disastrous net zero that's killing industry, quite frankly, and making our energy bills sky high, they can't stand as MPs next time. That's the fundamental principle.
So those are the qualifications: immigration, net zero.
It's more than that. It's behaviour. You know, we don't want the Suella Bravermans or the Rob Jenricks. It's not just about policies. It's about behaviour. Are you people who pay your taxes? If they're not doing that, they can't join. Are they people who tell lies or have committed crimes? Yeah, we wouldn't have Louise Haigh, probably, convicted fraudster. It's about standards. You want the people who are representing your country.
He's not any of those things.
You want people. You want people. Well, as I said, I'm not commenting on any individual applications. I haven't banned Grant Shapps from the Conservative Party, but I have said that people who are going to stand as MPs have to meet a high bar. Right. I want your viewers to look at their Conservative MPs and think, yeah, that's a great person. I'm really proud. I don't want them to think, oh, how did this person get selected? Yeah. We have to be better than all the other parties.
And you mentioned Rob Jenrick there and others. There's no way back for the defectors now.
No, I think
over.
Rob Jenrick, I think just yesterday or today, had to delete a fake audio clip of another MP. I mean, I think that's just wrong. He's currently being investigated by the police. Nigel Farage has got this £5 million that no one knows where what it was for. So it's just, we need higher standards in politics.
The first big issue facing Andy Burnham in September, when Parliament comes back and you can question him, is the mass release of offenders before their time is up in prison. What would you do? Would you, for example, not allow the killers of Andrew Harper, PC Andrew Harper, to be released?
No, and they have shown no remorse from what I saw of their sentencing. I saw videos where they were laughing. It was a horrific killing. Yeah. We don't want murderers and rapists let out. The last time Labour did its early release under Keir Starmer, some of those people had to be put back within 24 hours. We need to solve this problem of overcrowding. We solve it by building more prisons or by renting prison spaces from other countries. That's what was going to happen when I was in government. We didn't build as many because of COVID. The money went into COVID. Plans got delayed. We've got to start building those prisons now. Andy Burnham says he supports the stopping of early release. Conservatives forced a vote in Parliament. We won that vote. So I want to see him stick to his word.
And just finally, we haven't heard yet from Andy Burnham about illegal migration at all. That's not raised. But numbers are down, aren't they? So maybe Keir Starmer's plans are starting to work?
No, James Cleverly's plans are starting to work because we put in those plans in 2023, 2024. It took a while, but what did Keir Starmer actually do? He didn't do anything. So taking credits for migration coming down when we did the hard yards and did the work. Yes, admittedly, it went up under us too. I'm not going to pretend, but we tried everything to stop those boats except leaving the ECHR. We are now going to do that, and we've got a plan to put the rights into British legislation rather than letting a foreign court do it. And remember, I've done this before. I was the one who stopped the European Court of Justice from having jurisdiction over this country when I was business secretary. I can do it again. No one else in politics has done that, only me.
Kemi Badenoch, thank you for joining us today on GB News. Thank you.
Well, there you go. Kemi Badenoch saying politicians need to have higher standards. She wants very high standards in her party.
I got a feeling she quite enjoyed that discussion with Christopher Hope, actually. Being able to put a line in the sand and say, look, we are a different party to how we were a few years ago.
Yeah, we have nothing to do with the people who've gone over to reform. Well, it's day 4, isn't it?
Yes, moving on to the other side of the aisle. It's day 4 for Andy Burnham and the feel-good policies just keep coming. But how much money will it actually save us all? And crucially, how is Andy going to pay for it?
How is Andy going to pay? How is Andy going to pay?
Well, Tom, I mean, Andy Burnham says he's going to give pubs 20% off their business rates. Apparently going to save the average pub £1,100 a year. But how is Andy going to pay for it?
Well, Emily, it will be funded by making businesses like vape shops pay more. That's what the government says. But we don't have any more detail than that. What are the other businesses that are going to have to pay higher rates? There are fears that this package could include a warehouse tax, which experts say would increase supply costs for businesses like, you guessed it, pubs.
OK, but what about the temporary cut to VAT on household energy bills? That's surely going to save me £46 over the year?
Well, technically, yes, but it's not taking into account the increase in the energy price cap that's expected from October. Now, experts say that could raise bills by £84. And then Andy says it will be paid for by scrapping the planned-for digital ID scheme. But the sacked Minister Darren Jones said that scheme itself was unfunded, so no new money has actually been located.
OK, well, oh yes, the £2 cap on bus fares across England. If you're currently making 2 £3 journeys a day, you could save up to £500 a year, Tom. I guess it's not so good if you rarely take the bus anywhere. But how is Andy going to pay?
Well, it will require over £500 million of taxpayers' money. And at the moment, Andy Burnham says that this will be paid for by shifting international climate finance from grants to loans. It's a complicated accounting trick that will allow the government to borrow more while technically staying in the borrowing limit rules, all thanks to something called persnuffle that I'm not sure we have time to go into right now.
Oh, we'll save that for another day. So more borrowing?
Yes, in effect, it's just more borrowing.
How is Andy going to pay? How is Andy going to pay?
I said we wouldn't have time to go into what persnuffle is, but
oh no!
Shall I put you out of your misery?
OK, can you explain it in 15 seconds, please, Tom?
OK, so it used to be that there was a debt target for the government, and that was just the amount of debt that the government had that had to keep below a level. Rachel Reeves, a couple of years ago, changed that to public sector net financial liabilities, or persnuffle for short. It's a catchy name, PSFNL.
Catchy.
And that is basically net financial liabilities. So anything that the government has loaned out is discounted against its borrowing. So for instance, if it lends money for climate finance, technically that means you can borrow more, because it's about the net level of public financial liabilities.
This creative accounting going on here, is this, refrain, we made a jingle out of it, of course, but is this refrain of how is Andy going to pay going to be a recurring one, do you think, during this premiership?
Well, given that he's making lots of different announcements outside of a normal budget, normally you'd hear this all together in a budget and you'd have the Office for Budget Responsibility score, i.e. assess how much each policy would cost, and then there'd be in the round how it's all going to be paid for, how the numbers add up. When it's an ad hoc announcement here and an ad hoc announcement there, it's very difficult to actually point out how this thing is all going to add up as a whole. So I think Andy Burnham will legitimately face a lot of these questions over the course of the summer.
I know it would be a worry if any one of these policies was enough to sort of break down our economy or crash the markets. But I suppose it does kind of indicate that Andy wants to make these kind of crowd-pleasing policies, but he's going to have to do a lot of rejigging.
Well, this is
what rabbit is he going to take out of the hat at the budget, you know?
It's one of the problems with us being in recess right now. There's no political accountability for this. There's going to be an announcement, and it seems like, well, at the moment at least, there's an announcement a day. I mean, how much more can we all take of various different announcements, all designed to be headline-catching, no doubt pumping up Andy Burnham's personal popularity. But when you scratch below the surface of how the government says these are going to be funded, What do you find? Well, it's not fulfilled, it's coming from a pot that actually hadn't been identified, or it's more borrowing, or frankly, it's so vague that no one knows where the taxes are going to be raised on other businesses unless you're a vape shop.
Yeah, well, it's quite smart, actually, going after the vape shops, because I think there's been so much negative news around vape shops, sort of accusations of money laundering and nefarious activity.
But the announcement itself acknowledges it can't just be vape shops that are taxed. If you're going to cut these taxes for pubs, clubs, music venues, bars, if you're going to have all of these tax cuts here, you can't only put that on vape shops. Vape shops is the headline grabbing. Everyone applauds it because no one likes all these vape shops on our high streets.
A lot of people vape, though.
But the announcement says it will be businesses like vape shops. And they haven't said what other businesses are going to be taxed. And that's where the big question mark
they're going after the corner shops. That wouldn't be very business-spirited, would it?
Or, as Andy Burnham has said before, warehouses. But as we were saying in that piece, that, you know, if you tax warehouses more, actually warehouses supply businesses like pubs. So it's a sort of second-order tax on the pub that you're trying to lift the tax off.
I think we need to get a lot of people who are out of work back into work. And to do that, you need an economy that actually has job vacancies in areas that people can fulfil those jobs. But Jane said, made me laugh, your little persnuffle thing. Just, thanks, Tom. That's as clear as mud. Well, there you go.
Public sector net financial liabilities. What's not to love,
eh?
about that?
What's not to love? England First says, OK, some vape shops actually sell vapes.
Yes, some do.
So there you go. So there you go. There are indeed. And a lot of people out there do vape because, you know, they made cigarettes so expensive. But obviously they're very bad for your health. Now people vape loads. And they want to get rid of vapes. Also, it was quite amusing. Rachel Reeves out at the pub on the day where Andy Burnham took over. And she was there with her aides. And they all had the little vapes, which technically aren't disposable. But they're used very much in a disposable way, which is quite amusing because obviously they banned those.
All the vape companies did was stick a little charging port in the vape that they had before. No one charges it. Oh, it's all
Alison
very silly,
says she agrees to a certain extent with Kemi Badenoch, what she had to say there with Christopher Hope, but she has to get much harsher. At times she is too friendly towards Andy Burnham. Yes, I mean, she does like to send sort of public letters saying we should work together on this or that, you know, whether it's getting the benefits bill down or working on immigration and border control and that sort of thing. Is she too... you know, nice.
She can't win, can she? People say she's too beastly across the dispatch box at Rachel Reeves, and now they're saying she's too nice. I suspect that she's being nice for now because Andy Burnham has a +14 approval rating in the latest More in Common survey. Currently, he's the golden boy in the eyes of much of the public, and it would be striking against the mood to go for a vicious attack at this point. I'd be very surprised if she hadn't saved something up, though.
Well, it looks like we're very divided here on GB News Your Say about Kemi Badenoch. Lambert says, whatever you're selling, Kemi, no one's buying it anymore. But Sandy says, Kemi is brilliant. About time we had a Prime Minister with her strength and resolve to carry out her Conservative policies. So there you go. We are a divided nation. We're a divided inbox here at GB News.
Certainly are. Well, keep those views coming in. gbnews.com/your say
That's
is
the
way
one.
to get involved.
Don't need the whiteboard for that.
But it is time for the Great British Giveaway now, and your chance to win our Golden Summer celebration. Yes, you could bank an incredible £60,000 in tax-free cash and your very own real gold bar worth over £5,000. Here are all the details.
What would you do with £60,000 cash? What would you do with a real gold bar? Well, both have to be won in our Golden Summer celebration. First, there's £60,000 in tax-free cash to bolster your bank account this year. You could spend it on treats, splash out on the family, or just save it for a rainy day. It's entirely up to you. Plus, we'll also give you a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. That's genuine gold that you could gift to a loved one or just lock up in your own personal vault. The gold and the cash really could be yours. For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, good luck indeed.
Yes, I was thinking of getting you a teeny tiny little gold bar for your birthday.
Well, but it's not it's your
not
birthday.
Not a £5,000 one, I'm not that generous.
It's your birthday today.
It is, but I'm thinking ahead, because yours is next month. But anyway.
No.
There's a hosepipe ban currently, and 10 million Thames Water customers are subject to it, yes, following the recent hot weather.
Well, the restrictions mean that those affected are no longer allowed to use a hosepipe to water their gardens, wash their cars, or even fill their paddling pools.
Yes, Thames Water joins several other suppliers, including South East Water and Southern Water, which have already introduced similar restrictions.
Well, let's speak now to Isabel Fekulak, our South East reporter, because, Isabel, this is a pretty bad timing for it all, given the lovely weather.
Yes, absolutely. Good afternoon to you both, Tom and Emily. Well, this hosepipe ban brought into place today from Thames Water is part of their drought plan. So they say that it's because of long periods of hot weather, very little rainfall, also a higher water demand from their customers, and the forecast for more hot and dry weather to come. Of course, it's people's gardens that will bear the brunt of this, with their plants struggling. They'll have to use watering cans to water those plants. Also, if you're trying to wash your car, you have to use a bucket and a sponge. Back to basics, it seems. But for many people, of course, we've been seeing more extreme weather here in the UK, extreme summers and colder winters over recent years. So they're asking, we've been asking, will this become a new norm? Have a listen to what people thought.
I suppose we just need to get used to this, because we're going to get more hot summers like this, and having more water butts and having more storage will protect more gardeners from having to worry about their plants dying in the heat.
I think it's coming home to roost that this is becoming the new normal, and that we all need to make adaptations.
If they have to do it, I have to accept it. But hopefully soon they take them.
Well, I won't be using the hose pipe anymore, which is inevitable. I'm amazed it's taken so long to come into place, to be quite honest. It's sad, because all those lovely plants you've got, you could just watch them shrivel and go brown, and you just pray for rain. We've got some coming on Sunday, but doubtless it will miss us.
Well, there you go. That's some of the 10.1 million customers that will be affected, that are having to make these adjustments. Now, I'm joined here by Peter, who we're at a garden centre. Now, of course, you can see all the plants around us. You aren't affected by the hosepipe ban as a business, but you are affected in other ways. Tell me about that.
Well, what will happen is the customers simply won't buy the plants. I mean, if they have to water them with a watering can, it's an awful lot of work, and that will affect us for maybe 3 or 4 years in the future. I mean, the main season has gone past. People have bought the plants and put them in their garden, but I think next year they won't buy them, quite frankly.
So it's becoming something that will affect you year in, year out now?
I think it will do, yes, and only going to get worse, isn't it, I think. So, yeah, it's going to be hard.
Well, thank you so much for coming on briefly. Of course, so this will affect businesses as well, as much as they can use the hosepipe bans. People aren't able to water plants, so are going to buy them less. Now, Thames Water have said that whether that hosepipe ban is lifted will depend on the weather, on forecasts, so they will make further announcements as and when they know whether that ban will be lifted.
Thank you very much indeed, Isabel Fekulak. Yes, the knock-on effects of these types of things really are stark, as you see there for the business there. But I think there's rain coming this weekend, so hopefully that might help fill up the reservoirs.
Oh, is there?
A little bit on Sunday, I think.
OK, phew.
I mean, there's rain also around the country, but in the south where this is.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't rain on Saturday, I'm OK.
Oh, sorry, the rain must work around your social calendar.
It really must. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more still to come.
Yes, after the news that an AI model reportedly escaped its secure testing environment and hacked into a private company, we'll debate whether we should just shut down AI before it's too late.
But after the break, a white man charged with assaulting a police officer after being attacked by 2 black men has the case dropped against him, whilst his attackers, of course, avoided court entirely. Now, is this two-tier policing? We'll speak to Reform's Treasury spokesperson, Robert Jenrick.
All of that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Brave.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories.
And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 26 minutes past 2. Now, just a warning that the following story contains some footage that viewers at home might find distressing.
Yes, a white man who was charged with assaulting a police officer has had his case dropped. 20-year-old Cody Harbour was arrested after he was seemingly attacked by 2 black men back on the 21st of June in Birmingham.
Well, the Crown Prosecution Service dropped the case against Mr Harper after concluding there was insufficient evidence to prosecute him. But in a wider sense, is it a case that sparked accusations of two-tier policing? Absolutely. One politician, Robert Jenrick, says that the police are in denial.
Yes, so I think we should explain exactly what happened, actually, on this street. Robert Jenrick here in the studio with us. Thank you for joining us. Because there was clearly a fight going on. This young man, the white man, was clearly being assaulted by 2 black men. A police officer comes over. He's been knocked to the floor, should say. The female police officer comes over and pins him against the wall, and he sort of lashes out.
That's right.
And it appears as though, you know, he didn't know that was the police officer because he'd already been sort of beaten up or whatever. And he was then charged with assault of an emergency worker.
That's right.
And that's what happened.
Yeah, so it was a complete inversion of what should have happened. Blokes on a night out on Broad Street in Birmingham, which anyone who knows the city will know is the main place you go for, you know, bars and clubs. 2 guys come up to him. They actually assault him, and then he ends up being the one who's arrested by the police officer. And in fact, in a pretty brutal way, where the officers drag him to a car. I think they call him, well, I won't say it on your show, but they use some pretty bad language, push him into the car, banging his head against the car. And then the way in which it was handled subsequently was equally disturbing, because the police then rush out a statement saying that nothing has gone wrong, they've investigated it, the police officers were absolutely right. Only as the footage then emerges, as we've seen in the past, for example, with Henry Novak, for them have to back down when there's a massive outcry. And now we've reached a stage where he's been let off, wasn't actually charged in the end, although it should never have got to that point. And the 2 lads who were ethnic minorities, who actually did the assault and were to blame, they do get a penalty, albeit a very minor one. What do we learn from this? Well, I think it's another example of creeping 2-tier policing and police forces who are completely in denial about this situation and appear to have learned nothing from what we've seen over and over again in recent times. And if you check, West Midlands Police, of course, is one of those police forces that have got these race action plans, which seem to have embedded this culture into their forces.
I mean, do we know that this is a race issue here? That they didn't just grab the first guy that they, you know, were close enough to? I mean, do you think the police officer really was stood there saying, you know, I'm going to pick on the white guy?
Well, we'll never know for certain, will we? Just as we may never know for certain exactly what motivated the police officers at the scene of Henry Novak's tragic death. But I think you can it's not unreasonable to draw conclusions from what we've seen there, where you've got, a young white guy ultimately being arrested, and the two ethnic minority guys just seemingly walking off scot-free. I think we should and there are just too many instances like this across the country for us to say that there's not a pattern. I think there is a pattern, and I suspect what lies behind it is this culture of anti-racist training that has been put in place for police forces that have led to a complete inversion of what we all want to see, I believe, which is equality before the law, where we're all treated exactly the same, regardless of the colour of our skin, and officers just arrive at the scene of crimes or incidents and use their objectivity, their common sense.
Yeah. I think we should make clear at this point that there has been no guilt established. The two individuals of ethnic minority were interviewed but not cautioned, although I'm sure people watching the footage can make up their own minds, even though that is the particular of the legal situation. Robert, I wanted to ask you on a different issue. We've just had Kemi Badenoch interviewed on the channel, and she was talking about various people who would not be welcome to stand for the Conservative Party again. Your name came up, and she said she would.
I won't be standing. Don't worry, I will not be standing for the Conservative Party. I think I made that decision quite a long time ago when I left and went to Reform.
I just wanted to put that idea to you that she listed off a number of people who she wouldn't want welcome in the Conservative Party for a variety of reasons.
Right.
Nigel Farage's name also came up. She mentioned the £5 million donation.
Nigel, I mean, this is a farce, isn't it? Let's be honest. Look, I don't like to get into all this personality stuff because Kemi's sometimes a bit obsessed by me. But look who is around her shadow cabinet table. Let's start with that, shall we? You've got Priti Patel, who was the Home Secretary who designed the disastrous immigration system. You've got Mel Stride, who was the Work and Pension Secretary when the benefits bill ballooned. I could go on and name many other people. I could name at least a third of the present shadow cabinet who said to me that they would never serve under a leader who wanted to leave the ECHR, for example. So let's not have this deflection of some has-beens who were members of Parliament and lost at the last election. Get your own house in order, Kemi, by getting rid of the very people who you have chosen to put around the top table of the Conservative Party who do not believe in the very things you profess to say.
She seemed to suggest you were a bit of a liability because you deleted a tweet which included a doctored audio recording of Joe White, the Labour Minister of Immigration. So, that sort of thing that could be a liability on your behalf.
OK. Look, I'm not going to get into a big argument with Kemi. That's all kind of water under the bridge. What really matters is which party is most trusted to actually fix the problems facing this country. Do I trust the Conservative Party, by which I don't mean the old guard who've lost their seats, but the very people who are there today to leave the ECHR? No, of course I don't, because most of them don't believe in that. Kemi herself, remember, just 2 years ago, stood for the leadership on a platform that leaving the ECHR was unnecessary. She said she didn't believe it. She was elected primarily by the left of the party. The Tory party establishment, George Osborne, William Hague, Michael Gove, Francis Maude, who all said they didn't support those very things. So come back to me when she's chucked those people out of the Tory party and I'll believe her a bit more.
Kemi Badenoch aside, just to get an answer on this specific issue of the apparently doctored audio of Joe White, the Labour politician, did you make a mistake there?
Well, I don't think so, but I have chosen to give Joe White the benefit of the doubt on this occasion. Some local residents came to me with the footage of that meeting. Bear in mind, Joe and I share the Bassett Law District in North Nottinghamshire, so we have a lot of constituents who go to the same events. And they had certainly left that meeting with a very strong impression that Joe was, shall we say, rather incoherent on this issue, and that with one breath she was saying she did care about stopping the boats, and then seconds later saying that she didn't care about stopping the boats. And so I simply put out some of the footage that they had given me, which certainly gives that impression. Jo says that's not what she said, and she's put out footage which seems to have a slightly different slant on it. And so in the end, I thought...
her footage says, I don't care who will stop the boats, but my number one priority is to stop the boats.
In my view was, I'm not going to get into a big row with her. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. The point I was actually making was, does Andy Burnham give a stuff about stopping the boats? And he has now been our Prime Minister for almost a week. and as far as I'm aware, has not mentioned immigration once. I find that astonishing. And the kind of people that Joe and I represented, North Nottinghamshire, who view immigration and the fast of the small boats as their number 1 or 2 priority, will draw conclusions from the fact that Andy Burnham will not even talk about this issue.
Are you worried that he might go down quite well in sort of reform areas, potentially? You know, he's down in Essex, getting some love for his 20% off business rates for pubs and the like.
I don't see it.
He's getting a bit of a bounce in the polls.
Well, maybe, but look, it's very early days, isn't it? I think people will see through him. Look, the country is basically broken. It's in a mess right now. It faces huge challenges, and Andy Burnham is going an inch where you need to go a mile. Look at all the things he's announced in the last few days. We'll cut 45 quid off your energy bill if you have electricity. And bear in mind, 86% of households actually have gas or oil, not electricity. Well, Reform have said we want to take £200 off your energy bill. He said that he's going to help out pubs a little bit with a 20% reduction in their business rates. Well, Reform wants to phase out business rates entirely for pubs and cafes and do a 50% reduction in VAT and a reduction in beer duty as well. You know, on each of these things, the country's challenges are just much greater than Andy Burnham seems to acknowledge. If you want radical change, which is what I believe most people do at the moment, you've got to vote for reform, not for more of the same, which is Andy Burnham.
OK, well, Robert Jenrick, Treasury spokesperson for the Reform Party, thanks indeed for joining us.
Well, a spokesperson for West Midlands Police has said, we acknowledge and respect the decision of the CPS to discontinue the case against Cody Harper, who was charged with assaulting a police officer on Broad Street in Birmingham earlier this month, as there was insufficient evidence to provide a realistic prospect of conviction.
The statement continues. This was a spontaneous incident on a busy street in Birmingham city centre, with officers dealing with a number of incidents in a short period of time. As a result of further footage being released, a further assault was recorded and an investigation was carried out. The victim in that offence chose to not make a statement to officers, but we were able to identify the officers as a result of our investigation. 2 men were interviewed under caution for that offence and have now been given out-of-court disposals.
All right, well, there you go. Lots more coming up on today's show. Yes, after the news that an AI model escaped its secure testing environment, hacked into a private company, we're going to debate whether we should just shut down AI before it's too late.
All of that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Hello again, welcome along to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Yet again, most places not seeing a drop of rain today. Many areas having plenty of July sunshine, really quite warm across the south once more. High pressure is in control, but it is being pushed away. There are signs of things turning a bit wetter as we head towards the weekend. Even today, there will be 1 or 2 showers again over northwest Scotland, the odd light shower possible down the eastern side of England. It's not sunny everywhere. There are some areas of cloud tending to break up as we head into the afternoon and into the evening time, but still some areas keeping quite a bit of cloud through the day today. That'll keep the temperatures in the low 20s perhaps, but in the south with some sunshine, well, high 20s likely, 28, perhaps even 29 in 1 or 2 locations. A bit more of a breeze again coming into northwest Scotland, more coming in from the west or the southwest here, bringing in some showery rain at times to the Outer Hebrides and to Shetland. The odd light shower possible elsewhere across the west coast of Scotland, but generally most places dry. Quite a bit of cloud for Northern Ireland this evening too, but some bright spells here and some sunny spells across most of England and Wales. And as I said, really quite warm across the south, 26, 27 even for the evening rush hour. Now, as we go through the nights, not a great deal of change. The breeze picking up a little further in the far northwest, a bit more showery rain coming into the highlands perhaps, but most areas will stay dry again with light winds further south. Could see some mist and fog patches forming. Temperatures dipping to mid to high teens in some towns and cities. Again, rural spots will be a little bit cooler. On to Friday, a similar kind of day. Again, the vast majority across England and Wales will be dry, bright, mixture of cloud and sunny spells. Some showery rain just trickling its way down the west coast of Scotland. Could see some light showers across southern Scotland for a time. And there is the threat of more rain coming into the far northwest later. That will change things a bit as we go into the weekend.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The M1 northbound at Junction 8 in Hemel Hempstead has a collision causing delays. The M1 northbound is closed between junctions 11A and 14 in Luton for a night closure. The M6 northbound between junctions 14 and 15 in Stone has a lane closed. The A428 is closed after the A1 near St Neots. In Scotland, the A68 is restricted in both directions at Carter Bar following a collision, with possible delays. And on the trains, cross-country services have no trains between Torquay and Paignton, and East Midlands Railway services are running a reduced service. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 20 to 3, and artificial intelligence is becoming more powerful than ever. But is it all moving too fast?
Yes, reports this week that an advanced AI model carried out an unauthorised cyber attack during testing. Some are now warning that the technology is becoming far too dangerous.
So, should we shut down AI before it shuts down all of us? Well, joining us now is the Director of Public Affairs at the Adam Smith Institute, Maxwell Marlowe, and the CEO of Pause AI Global, Maxime Forns. Maxime, let's start with you. Do we need to be worried about the development of AI?
No, do we need to shut it down?
We need to be extremely worried. I wouldn't argue that we need to shut it down. This is not what Pause AI is advocating for. We are advocating for a pause in the development of the most advanced systems until we know how to make them safely, which is not the case at the moment. We have no guarantees on their safety, as the incident this week has exemplified. We have now models that are better than the best human hackers and that are able to break into our computer infrastructure. This is not a great situation to be in, and we need to take this warning shot very seriously.
Is the worry that it could be in the hands of hostile states, hostile businesses themselves, hostile individuals? Is that the worry?
Well, that's part of the worry, but not anymore. I think what this example shows is that the AI themselves are the threat now. Like, this AI was not instructed to hack into a company infrastructure. It just did it by itself. So loss of control is a real worry.
Well, Maxwell, have we lost control?
I don't think we lost control. The AI was instructed to undertake quite an aggressive cyber security review, and that's how it got its answer. Now, that is a problem, don't get me wrong, but I think the worry is if we pause AI, it's trebles in Moscow and in Beijing, because they're not going to pause this sort of stuff. The US Senate is undertaking an investigation at the moment about the use of AI in Beijing to hack into American products and American models to undermine our economic growth and our security. I think it is the wrong attitude to take Maxime's point of view to try and slow down on this. We are in an arms race, and I do not think it is right for us to just step back and let the baddies crack on with it.
Maxime, if we pause, is it really reasonable to expect that Beijing would pause as well?
Yes, it's very reasonable, because Beijing has been signaling that they want a pause for more than a year now. Like, they keep repeating they want to come on the table and be able to talk about a potential treaty. I think what's really important to understand is that this is not a standard arms race. This is a suicide race. I mean, just look at what happened. We have an AI system that autonomously managed to find new exploits that humans had never discovered, to break out of its containment at OpenAI, reach the internet, and then hack a company using, again, new cyber exploits. We have built a weapon of mass destruction in the online realm. Now, I think everybody should realize this. And whether it's in the wrong hands or it's causing damage by itself, the problem is really that we cannot be in this situation, and we have to find a solution. The pause is one such solution. We are open to other options, but we need to do something now. We cannot just continue racing.
Maxwell, a treaty was reached over nuclear arms proliferation. Could a treaty not be reached over AI?
I'm sure it could. It doesn't stop bad actors, though. I mean, the Iranians set off nuclear missiles underground, set off nuclear bombs underground, so did the North Koreans. So I don't think it's going to solve this problem. If we are going to take Maxime, seriously at his word, and this stuff is, like a virus, can spread all over the world, I don't think a treaty is going to stop this. There are bad actors who will do this. And the reason why it can hack into these things is because humans built the current cybersecurity software and infrastructure we have. AI is building the next generation, right? And we need to embrace it to do that.
There's a big asymmetry, though, between attack and defense. We can look at what happened this week at Hugging Face. They were subject to an autonomous attack by AI agents, and what happened is that the human team was completely unable to do anything about it. So if you want to be able to prevent this, you need to actually give full control of your production system to AI defending agents. That means you need to put all the trust that you have into these systems and give them access to everything.
Isn't this already happening with Project Glasswing? The ability of a select group of companies and some state actors to have access to Anthropic's Mythos model to find the vulnerabilities and patch them before this thing becomes public.
If you're able to do this beforehand, that can be an advantage that you have. And of course, we should be doing this with the AIs that we currently have. But what we are saying is that we should now stop developing more powerful AI systems because it's only going to exacerbate the problem. They are already superhuman in hacking, but the bar is not going to be there. They are going to continue increasing exponentially until...
Just very quickly, we've got 10 seconds. Just what is the worst case scenario that you're thinking of? Just to bring this to life, what are you so afraid of when it comes to AI?
The worst scenario is loss of control and human extinction. We are building this new, more intelligent species, and it may just take over humanity.
Right, OK. Well, Maxime Fons and Maxwell Marlowe, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Well, allegedly this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Might need to change the name after a few more debates like that, but
Extinction Britain.
Lots more still to come on the programme.
Yes, we're going to be live in Lincoln for the 6th International Bomber Command Day, marking 90 years since its creation, and we're going to speak to the veterans attending this special commemoration.
But in the meantime, if you're in search of some holiday sunshine, here's the weather in Europe.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
There's some mixed weather across parts of Europe at the moment. We have a heat wave affecting western parts. This will ease into the weekend, but for the time being, temperatures for some around 5 to 10 degrees above average. Some places getting into the high 30s, low 40s perhaps. Eastern Spain into North Africa as well. Then further east, well, across parts of Greece and nearby nations, we have some intense thundery downpours. 75 millimetres of rain in just a few hours. Large hail, gusty winds could cause some problems.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Olympian Sharon Davies. Sharon, thanks so much for joining us this morning. I think this is preposterous that we're banning Sports Day for kids, and our viewers are obviously also thinking this is completely bonkers. But is there a case to be made that perhaps we should be looking after young people when the heat is quite extreme in many people's cases, they'll say? What do you think, Sharon?
I think looking after our kids is making them resilient and giving them a sports day. I mean, sport in schools has been relegated year on year on year, and it's so depressing. You know, it's such an important part of young people's lives. Give them a hat, give them some sunscreen, make sure they're drinking plenty of water, stick them in the shade when they're not, actually having a little race. This is all about just kids getting used to life, and wrapping them in cotton wool is not the answer.
The People's Channel. Britain's newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
So you go along to the car showroom and only like 10%, at most maybe 15%, pay cash. The rest buy on some form of financing. And you often buy, it's a bit like a mortgage, and it's like buying a mortgage from the estate agent, which we all know is a terribly bad idea. But this is what people did. And the scandal is, the guys in the showroom were acting as dealers and brokers, and they were in many cases inflating the interest rate that you paid so that they could get bigger commission. And they didn't declare that. So you basically ended up paying more for your car than you would otherwise have done if you'd gone into the open market and found yourself, a better deal.
How did that come to light?
Well, over many years. I mean, this has been going on since 2007.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Ruth Ellis was executed on the 13th of July 1955. She was convicted of murdering a partner, David Blakely. There's been a long campaign about what to do about all of that. She has now had a conditional pardon, which would mean she would have been sentenced to life rather than sentenced to death. So it's a significant move, but what do her family make of it? Well, her grandson, Stephen Beard, is here alongside solicitor Grace Horton. Good to see you both this morning. I mean, look, from a family perspective, Stephen, what does this mean?
It's huge. It was a monumental day yesterday. In essence, it's the removal of a negative blotch in our family history. We have effectively rewritten history because ultimately, for the last 70-odd years, the truth hasn't been known.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 10:03, and Lincoln is hosting the 6th International Bomber Command Day, marking 60 years since the RAF Bomber Command was formed way back in 1936.
That would be 90 years, not 60 years, Tom.
That's how maths works. Yeah.
Well, Jack Carson is in Lincoln at the Service of Remembrance. Jack.
Yeah, thank you very much. We've just had the finishing flyover from a couple of Typhoons from 12 Squadron. It's been an incredible day commemorating and marking, of course, and remembering all those who gave the ultimate sacrifice serving as part of Bomber Command from 1936 until it finished in 1968. And as you can see, we're joined at the Spire Memorial here by Squadron Leader Bob Ankerson, who's a Gulf War veteran and also the president of the ex-RAF Prisoner of War Association. Bob, you were part of that ceremony, laying a wreath, 55 of them behind us. Just tell us, what it was like to be part of this service today.
Well, I've done it a few years, and to see that how much people remember that sacrifice that those who served in Bomber Command and flew in Bomber Command made in our fight for freedom. It was the only way that the war could be taken direct to Germany was Bomber Command. Huge losses, and they are all remembered here. And for me personally, I met many of the Second World War ex-POWs, and that inspired me to be part of this organisation here at the RBCC. I'm a volunteer here as well as president of the association.
And tell us a little bit about your own service in the Gulf War.
Well, I was deployed out to Dhahran at the beginning of January, and on my second time airborne, I ended up with my aircraft on fire over the wrong side of the lines, and I ejected out of my Tornado, and I was captured by the Iraqi soldiers, and then I was in solitary confinement for the best part of 40 days. 4 walls, a plastic bowl, and 2 blankets.
All right, well, Bob, we thank you for your service and everything you've done to ensure that we have the freedom today, and thank you for being part of this service as well, of course, marking 90 years since the start of Bomber Command. When you look at those who, of course, served within Bomber Command just during World War II, 55,500 of those young men didn't come back. It was one of the worst death rates for an RAF regiment, of course, and we remember their service and their sacrifice on this anniversary today.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Jack Carson, our national reporter there in Lincoln. Well, now, a very big happy birthday to Emily, and joining us is a special guest.
Oh, who's that? Oh, my husband. Hello.
How are you? Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Well, thank you, and thank you for the presents.
Yes, that's right. Well, you'll be able to tell probably that I am currently at your mum and dad's because I am about to wake little George up, and we need to get ready to take you for dinner shortly, don't we? We've got a nice restaurant booked, but also, George was quite a clever boy. He's very advanced for just 10 months old because he managed at some point in the last couple of days, I don't know how he did it, but he managed to sneak out of his cot, get himself dressed and take himself off to Oxford Street where he bought Mummy a handbag, didn't he, for her birthday? And I don't know how on earth a little man managed to afford that, but he did. He found a way. So George has got his presents in and, it's my turn next to take you out for dinner.
Oh, is it that nice little basket one that I wanted?
It is, yes, and it's, gosh, again, I don't know how he managed to afford it because it was really towards the top end. But, you know, well done, John.
Well, Patrick, thanks so much for that message here, and happy birthday once again, Emily. Martin Daubney's up next. Do stay with us.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, yes, it is time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. There are signs of a change on the horizon, but for most places, tomorrow again is dry and fine, quite hot across the southeast. Now, there will be some rain coming into the northwest from this weather front, slowly increasing the cloud through the rest of today and overnight. Elsewhere, we've seen a mix of cloud and sunny spells. Hasn't been blue skies everywhere, and there's even been 1 or 2 light showers dotted around. We'll continue to see some showery rain over the Highlands and the Western Isles overnight, and some of that rain could trickle down towards Glasgow as well. But most places staying dry, again, perhaps turning a little misty through the early hours, 1 or 2 fog patches as temperatures, certainly in the countryside, down into single digits, most towns and cities between about 12 and 17 Celsius. On to Friday, pretty similar today. You could wake up with a bit of mist and fog, but that should clear away. But we will have this thicker cloud in western Scotland, that weather front we saw earlier, providing some rain and drizzle at times along the west coast in particular, and perhaps even into the southwest. The northern parts of Northern Ireland may also see a little bit of showery rain and quite a grey start for much of Northern Ireland too. Some mist and low cloud over parts of England and Wales to begin with, but a lot of sunshine again here. And as we go through the day, I think the mist and low cloud will tend to break up to reveal some sunny spells. The rain and drizzle will fizzle as it spreads its way south through Northern Ireland and into southernmost parts of Scotland. So a little bit of light rain here and there, but most places staying dry. Brightening up in eastern Scotland with some sunny spells coming through, lifting the temperatures into the 20s. Further south, mid to high 20s, and we could get close to 30 degrees across the southeast once more. We are going to see more wet weather coming into the northwest during tomorrow evening. This weather front's got a bit more about it. That rain will spread more widely over Northern Ireland and eventually into northern England during Saturday. Further south, one more sunny day, but then things turn showery and more cooler for all of us by Sunday.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather.
What would you do with £60,000 cash? What would you do with a real gold bar? Well, both have to be won in our Golden Summer celebration. First, there's £60,000 in tax-free cash to bolster your bank account this year. Plus, we'll also give you a fine gold bar worth over £5,000.